Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the season finale of the NXTCC Season 5, or known in full as the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship, brought to you only on the premier sim racing platform available on PC, that is iRacing of course, and powered by IMB Racewear. 10 weeks of racing were on the calendar when we opened up the season. 9 have passed and they've all led to this, the season finale at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit here in the United Kingdom. Based near Castle Donington in Leicestershire, this English circuit is a circuit which has been a staple of British motorsport ever since its inception. And whilst it may be quite similar to its national layout, consisting of the majority of the national layout, it is extended by 2 rather ravenous hairpins and also a couple of additional short straights, which means the racing can only be more furious and fast as our drivers battle into the hairpins and battle under braking. Indeed, the Donington Park circuit we would not be without, and that's why it's returned to the calendar for 2024 in the Real World Series of the British Touring Car Championship, or the BTCC, and it is back here today for our season finale in honour of the legendary circuit's return to the real-life BTCC calendar. But as we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, you could be tuning in by one of 3 media platforms to your viewing pleasure right now. That could of course be the first of 2 of which are the official Next Gen Racing media platforms, available on YouTube at youtube.com and search for Next Gen Racing. Alternatively, you could be tuning in via Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube or Facebook. But we also do have the unofficial broadcast, which is available on Twitch TV. That's at twitch.tv/TX141. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. Now, who is TX141? Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now, we bring you all your racing action tonight and indeed for the remainder of the season. In a season which is going down to the wire, and all 3 championships are still arguably open, albeit one is practically settled barring exceptional circumstances we'll come to shortly, but our other 2 championships are still wide open. Indeed, this is a round that's going to be full of drama and spoils, you can be assured of that. And we'll give you a quick recap, of course, in terms of the racing. And before we do, of course, let's take you through that schedule for tonight times in Greenwich Mean Time. That's GMT or Universal Coordinate Time UTC. And as we can see, just under 18 minutes time, we're making our way out into the circuit for the final qualifying session of the season. All our drivers out there and ready to go racing as quickly as humanly possible. After which, 15 minutes of qualifying, we'll then be heading to the grid for our first race of the day. And we'll there listed as 9 laps. In fact, it's 10 laps as we do get it corrected. And we'll be going racing at 8:15 for what is race number 28 of the season in our first of 3 sprint races, all approximately 20 minutes in length or 10 laps in duration. And then we're taking a brief breather before the return to the build-up of race number 2 just before 9 o'clock this evening. Another 10-lap race, and then we take another brief breather before returning for our final race of the season. It'll be race number 3 of the evening, race number 30 of the championship, and it'll be our final sprint race with the maximum possible reverse grid, depending on how the reverse grid draw goes, of course. And then we bring the curtain down on what has been an absolutely thrilling season, there is no doubt about it. But let's give you that recap then of our season as it's occurred. And as we can see, we started off all the way back on the 7th of November at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Indeed, it's rather appropriate that we started off in the UK and we finish in the UK. And starting off in the Kent County, we very quickly made our way on the 14th of November across the Atlantic Ocean and to the circuit of the Americas. The West Laut to the American circuit, definitely seeing our drivers do the Texas two-step, but they then made their way southwards to South America, and on the continent in the country of Brazil, they took on the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache on the 21st November. We then had our first mid-season break, but not without returning on what was round number 4 on the 5th of December to the Canadian Time Motorsport Park, and while there we got to see one of the premier Canadian circuits absolutely delivering the thrills and spills. We then made our way to the end of the first half of the season with the commencement of a German doubleheader that began at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke. That was on the 12th of December, and we carried on the momentum in Germany with the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben playing host on the 19th of December to kick off the second half of the season, and was an absolute spectacle for round number 6. And then we took our second mid-season break in honour of Christmas before we returned at the start of 2024 back on the 2nd of January with a circuit in the Magny Cours. The first time the circuit has ever been featured in the NXTCC calendar. Goodness me, we're going to be going back there at some point, I can assure you of that, for the simple reason it is a circuit that absolutely showed just how potent it can be. Its combination of corners and straights, and the same could be said with the Sebring International Raceway on the 9th of January, the first time we've ever seen the NXTCC go to the Florida State circuit in the US of A, and we'll be going back there again with the bumps, really giving our drivers the rough and rugged treatment, but also some fantastic battles. And last time out, we kicked off a British doubleheader to wrap up the season, and it was with round number 9, the 16th of January at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And there on the extended layout of the circuit, the first time we've ever raced there in the NXTCC, we got to see some great battles and also late drama in the overall championship with a dismal race number 3 for Wojciech Swirydowicz, meaning that the scores have been levelled between him and Mikey Doble, the two main belligerents in the overall championship fight. But more on that very shortly, because here today is the 23rd of January 2024, and we are here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. So let's give you the recap then of the championship standings after 9 rounds, and we begin here with the overall drivers championship. And look there at the top, Mikey Doble has returned to the top after 7 rounds being behind Wojciech Swirydowicz. He's found his way back to the top by 3 points over his Polish rival. It's the battle of the Briton versus the Pole, and both drivers have shown their credentials to be title favourites. In the fact that Mikey Doble, 2-time champion already, looking to make it a 3rd championship, indeed defend his title for this season based on the outcome of season 4. Meanwhile, Wojciech Swirydowicz, the debutant for Semper Racing, and looking to try and upset the grip that Jamie Dory and Mikey Doble have on the championship, with both drivers having 2 apiece, but Swirydowicz trying to add his name to the legendary status. Daniel Martin, meanwhile, sits in P3. He is an outsider in the hunt for the top step, as is Joseph Sabula, with the 2 drivers there being separated by 3 points themselves, but being the best part in return of which 73 points off of the top 2. Outside the top 4, you also got to consider that Jamie Dory is in the hunt on 778 points. He's also got an outside chance of taking the championship crown and potentially making it 3 championships against his name, with Benjamin McCluskey in P6, the highest he's been all this season, on 756 points. He can't win the championship, but he could still find his way into the top 3 if things do go his way. Joseph Doble, Adam Delwant, Paul Zanatachi and Dan Mole complete your top 10, with Zanatachi moving up to P9 after a great set of performances at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And then outside the top 10, Gavin Gardner, P11, looking for a late resurgence, falling 12 points outside the top 10, but not out of the hunt, with Luciano Vitford P12 there on 558 points, to marking a clear gap to Gavin Gardner, but only holding in return at what is the best part of 31 points to Lee Horn. Isaac Doble, the leading prime driver in the overall championships, it's P14 on 486 points, and right now is going to be your leading prime driver in the overall championship come the conclusion, unless results go against him all the way today. Indeed, that's going to be an accolade he'll take it in stride already. We'll come on to the actual prime championship shortly, as then we see William Guthrie, P15, wrapping up the top 15, 15 clearing Nick Clibbins. It's Andrew Pye, Alex Meredith, Matthew Addy and Sam Smith who complete your top 20, and outside the top 20 for the 321 of Sam Smith, it's 309 of Martin Shirley, who had a great start to the season, but the results haven't necessarily gone his way in the mid-period of the season, and he'll be looking to break back into the top 20 before all is over. We'll then continue to have the pair for Goldwyn Motorsport of Daniel Downing and Sam Van Alst of 307 and 289 points each, and both drivers there definitely showing their credentials in their debut season. And Ben Altrier, they're not on the grid today. I do believe that celebrated his girlfriend's birthday, and they hope he and his girlfriend have a great time together. But indeed, I think he's going to be tuning in. P24 there, and that's the height he's going to go. But in his rivalry with Reece Watt, he's got the pro driver only a point behind. You can imagine that what right now we're looking to try and find a way to move into the top 20 if he can today. But he's also got Ian Manners for company. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Ian Manners on the grid tonight due to personal circumstances, but he's doing okay. But he's going to be cheering in, no doubt about it. And I hope the JW Motorsport driver will be cheering on his teammates. Russell Fowler, Alan McCain, Jake Lane, John Higgins Jr. complete your top 30, with Matthew Sheraton P31 ahead of Wayne Douglas. And it's Paul Scott on 170 points, 2 clear Fraser Elphick, with Duncan Rice completing your top 35. Alex Everett, it's P36 ahead of Michael Lees, with Stephen Fry, Luke Jones and Harley Bicknell completing your top 40. And as we come outside the top 40, we have Piotr Jegoslavski on 54 points, 10 clear on Mark Sykes, with Raffle Zarsh P43 ahead of Jonathan Collins. Then we have Damon McQueen P45 and 24 points, only ahead of Craig Tillotson based on result countback, with Mark Kent, Harry Gaylor, Jake Pitt and Callum Jenkins complete your top 50. And then to wrap up the standings there, the last driver with points accrued is James Smatsky on 3 points in P51, ahead of Dom Joy, who's on 0 points, the same for Nigel Scott Malcolm, and also George Watson there in P55, and then on negative points due to post-race penalties, Peter Greenwood, Gabriel Yilmaz, Ian Wild and Adam McNally. But now we come on to the IMB Racewear Prime Championship, of course, in honour of our title sponsor for this season. And here we can see Isaac Doble stands tall on 1,051 points, 131 clear Matthew Addy, and then the best part of what is, if my mathematics is correct, 153 points clear of Daniel down in P3. Now we've done the mathematics based on the drop scores. Isaac Doble arguably is practically your champion already, unless his rivals achieve perfect scores over the course of the evening, and Isaac Doble does not score any points. However, presuming that Isaac Doble is able to finish inside the top 15 of the AM class, well, not in the AM class, in the Prime class I should say, in race number 1, he will score enough points to secure the crown. That's all he's got to do is finish race 1 and finish in the points of any of the races today, and he will be your IMB Racewear champion for this season. But Matthew Addy and Daniel Downing will do everything they can to thwart him as they battle for the right to be the second place runner-up. And then Ben Altrier sits in P4 there on 832 points, and it's an open opportunity for Sam Vidols to potentially jump into P4 before all is over with Altrier's absence on the grid, and the gap between the two drivers being only 17 points. Alan McCain sits P6, a further 7 points behind, with an 18-point advantage over Alex Meredith, and it's Sam Smith, Matthew Sheraton, and Jay Calais who complete your top 10, with Jay Calais' performance his last time out at Silverstone earning him a great spot inside the top 10, an opportunity to hunt down Matthew Sheraton before all is said and done. Duncan Rice sits P11 on 524 points, ahead of Luke Jones, with Paul Scott only behind Jones based on result countback, and then Harry Bicknell a further 7 points off, with Mark Sykes completing your top 15. From him, it's to Alex Everett on 392, with Stephen Fry at 30 points further behind, and it's Craig Tiddleston, Fraser Elphick, and Andrew Holmes who complete your top 20. And outside the top 20, not to be forgotten about, we have Jonathan Collins, P21, 271 points, only 1 point ahead of Piotr Jegowski, the Semper Racing driver who will be keeping a keen eye on all this season since his mid-season debut. And the fact he's definitely been enjoying his racing, there's no doubt about it, and is trying to fight his way into the top 20 before all is over today. And Raffles sits a further 18 points behind, but a clear gap to James Mansfield and Mark Kent as they fight for P24. Peter Greenwood sits P26 at Callum Jenkins, with Ian Wild, Gabriel Yumas, and George Watson completing your top 30. And there's Harry Gaylor, P31, head of Jake Pitt, with Scott Malcolm, Nigel Stock, and Dom Joy completing your championship standings. But then last but not least, the big question, what about the Teams Championship? Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. NextGen Racing Pink have found themselves an advantage, and it is an advantage of just over 100 points ahead of Doble Sim Racing. And can they hold on to that slender advantage over the entirety of today? They'll be hoping so, but of course, the fortunes could go any which way. Behind Doble Sim Racing, Semper Racing have dropped to P3 on 1,601 points. They'll be aware of the fact they're 97 points behind P2, and right now they'll be looking to try and close the gap to Doble Sim Racing first and foremost. And with SRL NextGen falling a bit further behind, it looks like it's going to be a three-way fight for that championship crown. However, SRL NextGen only sits 73 points clear of the conglomerate of Brabham Esports, Performance Fleet Esports, and Affinity, so therefore they've got their work cut out for them to finish P4 ahead of their rivals, with RD Simsport also in the hunt there and closing the gap to the top 5. And can they salvage a top 5 come the end of this season? Well, they'll definitely be dreaming. They dare to dream to do so. There's no question about it. NextGen with Sam Case's P7 on 1,021 points. They've opened up a bit of a further gap over iRacing Esports, with JW Motorsport P9 ahead of Full Tilt V Motorsport, and the gap between these two teams of P9 could not be closer. 12 points is the closest it has been all season. But then from the 702 of Full Tilt V Motorsport, we do have Goldwing Motorsport on 670. Keep your eyes out for them. They may just steal away a top 10 spot before all is said and done. Within the fight for P12 between Aztec Racing, Crest Autosport, P739 Motorsports, and the conglomerate of FR20 Sim Racing, Mally Motors, Whiskey Runners, and Synergy Sim Racing wrapping up the standings, and it looks like Aztec Racing are on course to take that P12 position. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now come onto our circuit for today. And of course, it is the Grand Prix layout of the Donington Park circuit, located near Castle Donington in Leicestershire of England and the United Kingdom. As we can see from the circuit map provided us by iRacing.com, and thank you to iRacing for the brilliant simulator and the track maps that come with it. This circuit consists of 12 corners, has all the sweeping corners that you know and love, and the elevation changes that are ram-packed in the national layout, but it is the extension of what would be the normal Goddard chicane into the S's at turns 9 and 10, and then the run down towards the Melbourne hairpin at turn number 11 and the Goddard's hairpin at turn number 12 that make this circuit unique. And as our drivers roar their way on around here, it's going to be about finding the flow in the first half of the lap, and then being bold on the brakes in the second half and being able to return to full throttle as soon as possible. For as our drivers roar their way across the start-finish line, into Red Gate corner they'll go, and through the opening right-hander they'll begin the descent down through the Craner curves at turns 2 and 3, unsighted at the apex of turn 3 before they make their way into the old hairpin at turn 4. It'll be no stranger seeing some drivers run wide at the old hairpin, but those who get it right will go full throttle up through Starkey's Bridge at turn number 5, and into left-hand kick at 6 before McLean's at 7, and hard on the brakes they'll make their way through the uphill right-hander before going up into the next uphill right-hander at Coppice Corner, which is all about braking into an unsighted apex as you make your way over a rise. But as they come out of Coppice, it's then down the back straight into the S's sequence, where you could see some track limits catch our drivers out, and as they make their way down towards Melbourne hairpin, it'll be battling a plenty, perhaps 3 abreast there, as they go into turn 11 before the corner spits them out, and they charge their way uphill into Goddard's to complete the lap and do it all over again. But to give you a quick reminder of our rules before we do go racing, of course, this is a fixed setup series with all setups right ahead of each and every race, as provided by the NextGen Racing Administrators. Driver classes were finalised as the conclusion around at number 3, that seems an eternity ago, and in terms of the sprint races, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying. The race 2 grid, meanwhile, should be a reverse grid based on results of race 1, and it'll be a partial reverse grid based on a random draw done from the Conte booth between P6 and P12. We then repeat that for race number 3, with the grid being set based on the results of race number 2, but the reversal position will be drawn live from between P13 and P23, and each driver shall have one fast repair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either allotted lap amount of what is 10 laps, or approximately 20 minutes of racing, or 30 minutes if we do see a safety car deployed. We're very pleased to say as well, we do have our safety car driver back in action, and Gaz Williams will be behind the wheel of the, what I do believe is the Porsche Cayman, so that's absolutely great news. And in terms of extended our rules here, race stewarding is in effect when an independent race director stewarding the races for track limit infringements and deployment of the safety car, and the penalties for track limit infringements are as follows. The first and second warnings, they're just a warning. The third warning is a 5-second post-race time penalty. That is doubled to 10 seconds on the fourth warning. On the fifth warning, you get a drive-through penalty that must be served within 3 laps. Race instance, meanwhile, should be reviewed post-round. Now, also, we'd like to remind you that Success Ballast is being deployed over the entirety of the season. It continues to apply today. It's applied on a race-by-race basis to the overall and prime class, and of course, going into qualifying and race number 1, it's based on the championship standings prior to this round, and meanwhile in race number 2 it'll be updated based on the finishing positions of race 1, and we do the same again for race number 3 based on the finishing positions of race number 2. And you can see the tables here for the Success Ballast, and the fact that overall the first place driver, so Mikey Doble going into tonight, will take 56.1 kilograms all the way down to 10th place Dan Mould there at 4.7 kilograms, and meanwhile Isaac Doble will taking the maximum in the prime class of 32.5 kilograms, and indeed trying to nestle that weight which he's had practically for the entirety of the season. Well, there's the Success Ballast, ladies and gentlemen, but enough rules, regulations, everything in between. You're all here for the race, and there's no doubt about it. And well, as we do look back to circuit side, all of our drivers right now get themselves all set up and ready to go. And well, here is a driver who right now will definitely not want any more pressure on his shoulders. He's already got enough on him, and that is, of course, second place overall championship driver Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing. He'll be feeling as though his task today will be to try and steal the championship away from his rivals, but will he be able to do so? That will be the challenge that is going to confront him all the way through. And well, he's in at one corner of the proverbial boxing ring, and meanwhile in the other corner will be none other than Mikey Doble, who we see here, current defending champion, championship leader by 3 points. So we're going to give you updates after each and every round if we can with regards to those top 5 championship standings, but right now they are the 2 major belligerents, and they're going toe to toe at a circuit that definitely has been a crown jewel for many a Drivers' Championship campaign. And many of you may remember that the Donington Park circuit, of course, back in 2022 being the crown jewel of the championship campaign for Mikey Doble in the Ginettas. I do believe it was the Ginetta Junior GT5 series at the time. We did in the end take the championship crown after much deliberation, but the number 88 driver will find that this circuit is steeped in personal history, and he'll be hoping to continue that personal history here today as he makes his way up towards turn at number 1. But it's not just about them, of course, because meanwhile, as our drivers continue to make their way on around, we have one driver in the pit lane here. He's off in the distance, but you can see him. That's Isaac Doble, the 65. And right now, he is on the cusp of achieving what he sought after in Season 4. But it eluded him after what was a nightmare mid-season in Season 4. But all he has to do is score points in one race today, and he will take what will be that crown in the prime class. And the Doble Sim Racing driver will know that his rivals have got to achieve perfection. So even if he doesn't score points in the first race of the day, if Matthew Addy or Daniel Downing do not take the win and they do not continue the string of wins, then Isaac Doble will be the champion as well. So right now, he couldn't ask for better fortunes. And speaking of his rivals, well, here is Daniel Downing, the P3 driver going into today for the IMB Racewear prime class. And the Goldwing Motorsport driver will be looking for a P2 as a minimum here to come away in the championship, given the fact it's been a fantastic debut season for the Hyundai Elantra driver. As he makes his way on down the back straight here, he'll know that it's not going to be easy, particularly when you have Matthew Addy for a rival. And well, the Veloster driver currently parked up there at the back end of the pit lane. We can't quite get a close camera angle there, a little bit shy perhaps, but the next gen with Sam Case's driver will know that it's a tough task ahead of him. And indeed, it was a difficult run into the pro class at the start of this season, but he's back in his comfort zone in the prime class, and well, it tells and shows of the fact that he's definitely been enjoying the racing once again. But then again, it wouldn't just be about these three, as we've got plenty of drivers out there in the prime class who've been enjoying the racing all season, including perhaps this man, first and foremost, Jay Calais in the number 89. And as he makes his way on down here, absolutely set and ready to go. Indeed, all of our drivers each in at 4 racing, no question about it. And well, we notice there's a little bit of silence in the chat. Don't be shy. Feel free to say hi whether you're tuned in via Twitch, YouTube or Facebook. Do let us know how you're doing and let us know who you're cheering on today, who you are putting your money on to be champions in the NXTCC Season 5 on iRacing here, powered by IMB Racewear. We are only a minute away from going into our final qualifying session of the season. And if there's anything that's guaranteed about qualified, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is going to be incredibly close. We have seen portions of the grid all the way out to the top 30 separated by a second in qualified at certain circuits. You couldn't ask for tighter qualified sessions, and I think here we're going to see even more of that. As we also see more in force here of Arnie Simsport as Daniel Martin makes his way on around there, tucked in behind what his teammate Martin Shirley, and what Arnie Simsport will be looking to end things on a high, particularly for what is Daniel Martin in what has been a challenging season, but without a doubt also one where he's definitely shown the pace. And right now he and Justin Spieler are fighting for that third place spot, but also looking for an outside chance to potentially snatch away that championship crowd from their rivals. But who out of the quartet, or indeed what will be the quintet with Jamie Dory also the mix, who is going to be that overall champion? Well, we said the favourites, but don't count out Daniel Martin, nor Justin Spieler, nor Jamie Dory, and I do believe Jamie Dory right now in the pit lane. But as the checker flag comes out in the final practice warm-up session, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for qualifying. As our drivers make the way back into their cars and out onto circuit, 15 minutes to the clock is go immediately, and well, who is going to be on pole, we're about to see. But as they all pile the way out of the pit lane immediately here, Jamie Dory right now doing everything he can to get out there first and foremost. And well, he's always been a quick starter in qualifying, there's no question about it, very eager to make his way out there before everybody else. But as they all pile the way out of the pit lane as quickly as possible, and the drivers get themselves set up, what do you need to do here to put yourself on pole at the Donington Park GP circuit? Well, first things first is you've got to be highly confident with regards to the flow through the corners. Excuse me, you've got to be very confident in your flow through the corners, particularly at what is the national layout. And as the drivers make their way on around, they'll be thinking about the fact they want to carry as much speed from apex to apex, and also into those hairpins being hard on the brakes. But as we do see here, Jamie Dory making his way up towards what is turn number 7, getting himself all set up. In fact, coming into turn number 8 of Coppice Corner, and as he rolls his way on down towards the back straight. Coming into a little bit more detail around here, it really is a circuit where it's all about rhythm in the first 2/3 lap, until you do get to, of course, the S's here at turns 9 and 10. As he makes his way on to the brakes here, the Audi RS3 driver will then know at this point the circuit transitions into a circuit that's a lot more heavily focused around what will be essentially being as late as possible on those brakes, and getting yourself absolutely set up and nailed into the latest possible apex, rotating the car in its nose, and then getting back to the full throttle. In doing so, that's what saves you the time as you make your way out of the corner. But of course, go a little bit too late on the brakes or 30 too early, and you lose a huge amount of time in your own right as well. And that's what makes the GP look just a slightly bigger change compared to the national layout, because you do have that strange contrast between the first half of the lap and the second half of the lap. But throughout, you notice the rather aggressive elevation changes over the course of the lap as well, and it wouldn't be Donington Park without elevation change. But as they make their way down the start finish straight here in towards turn number 1, everyone going on to their first flying laps of this qualifying session. And of course, good luck to all of our drivers in what is our final qualifying session of the season. Will we see any surprises? That will be on the minds of everyone right now to try and deliver their best here and to end the season on a high. And I wouldn't be surprised here if we do see some new names absolutely fly high at the top of the standings, whether it be overall or in the prime class. But as we do look to John Higgins Jr. here, returning to the grid last time out at Silverstone and absolutely delivering results to aplomb. And right now, as he makes his way up through Starkeys and into McLean's, onto the brakes he goes, and well feeded, confident here in that Hyundai Elantra. And it's definitely a car that's gone well with him all the way through his NXTCC career. But as we look from him to some of his rivals, Paul Zanatachi, the Affinity driver, as he comes up through, and there he is in the Hyundai Veloster, a driver who has been battling hard all season, and the fact he's inside the top 10 right now in the overall championship is just an absolute indicator of how hard and deep he is dug from round to round. Well, can he find a way to hold on to that P9? Can he perhaps go even higher and finish in P8 in the championship? Well, it's definitely going to be a big battle to do so. But then again, he's definitely shown that he could go the distance as he makes his way on down into the S's. As he comes onto the brakes, we do have some drivers further back in the prime class, including what is here, none other than Alex Meredith. And well, here we see the Hyundai Elantra driver for RD Sim Sport, a driver who was in the early stage of the season dubbed to be one of the title contenders in the IMB Racewear Prime Championship versus Wojciech Doble. But a difficult mid-season meant that some of the momentum fell away, but still nothing should be taken of the fact that Alex Meredith has definitely once again shown this season that with a little bit more luck on his side, he could be a long-term season contender. And I would imagine season 6, if he's able to make the grid for all the rounds, he definitely could be the name to watch out for as all the drivers make their way across the start to put their first lap times on the board. And speaking of season 6, if you're sat there right now wondering what's to come after this season, well, rest assured at the end of today's broadcast, we have got an absolute plethora of announcements. So don't switch off after race number 3, because of course we've got to announce our champions, we've also got our interviews to do, and plenty more to be announced with regards to season 6 and also our upcoming mini-series on R Factor 2, which is all touring car focused as well. So therefore, this is definitely a broadcast day where you want to be watching it all the way to the end to find out everything that's happening and plenty more when it comes to touring car racing at the next-gen racing community. But as Alex Meredith wraps his way on around McLean's and up towards Coppins he goes, we'll very shortly be riding on board with one of our drivers for a reference lap at the Donington Park circuit, and where we see what is none other and Harley Bicknell as he makes his way up through Starkeys and in towards McLean's right now. And Bicknell definitely has been one of those drivers who's continued to improve from time to time over the course of the season. In the early stages, battling to be just outside the top 10 of the prime class, but now a regular fight in for what is the bottom end of the top 10, and those points have gradually flowed on through for the JW Motorsport driver, and he'll be looking to try and end things on a positive today, and perhaps even looking to try and hunt down a close snippet of what would be a top 5 in the prime class in terms of a result in a given race. Well, I think he's got the favour and the confidence to do it, and I think the team will be rooting for him as he makes his way into the S's. But as he does so, meanwhile the lead portion of the field already making the way on around for another lap very shortly, including Isaac Doble here tucked in right now behind Russell Fowler as they all come through. New fastest laps coming on in, new pole lap set by John Higgins Jr. at 38.021, and whilst the drivers make the way on through, Daniel Martin now raises the bar to 37.973, and well, from them we do look to none other than what will be a Benjamin McCluskey, who makes his way on down through the crane of curves and into the old hairpin as he comes on through the right and up the right as he goes, taking as much circuit width there as he dares to do so, almost running off the circuit, in fact putting two wheels slightly, the left hand side wheels onto the dirt, but keeping the car nice and compact and tightly together. And as he comes on around right now, you'd think these guys are racing one another given the fact they're running so close, but no, they're trying to use the toe or the slipstream as we refer to it off each other to gain a couple of tenths on the acceleration zones, and particularly down this back straight here in the run out of the Coppice corner all the way out towards the S's. And that's the name of the game here. It's not just about being the fastest in clear air. When you have got the ability to siphon a couple of miles an hour off the car in front, you want to sniff that slipstream and gain even more in the lap time. But as they come on through, they're having to be careful, of course, of the bollards and the automated track limit system in effect, just as much as with our race director as well, keeping an eye on those track limits. I'm sure our race director has got their work cut out for them, particularly after the track limits of Silverstone last week. I think right now they're not getting any breather, but as our drivers come out of Melbourne and up towards Gollards, well, we're going to be jumping on board for what will be a flying lap, has been brought to you very shortly by none other than the driver who you do see in front of you, or Benjamin McCluskey. He heads on through the final corner and on to that reference lap we go. So he makes his way up towards the timeline here, accelerating in towards what will be 4th gear, looking over to his left-hand side, up to 5th, and now braking at approximately 75 metres from corner apex, all the way down to 2nd gear into Redgate corner, and now back at the throttle nice and early as he powers his way on out. Now as he makes his way into the crane of curves, turn 2, it's unsighted on the initial apex, but this is where turn 3 becomes a nightmare. Where is the corner? There it is, but you've got to be flat out, fully committed and muscle memory, and immediately over to the left-hand side, braking about 125 metres away from the apex of the old hairpin, down to 3rd gear, now carrying the speed out of the corner and up through Starkeys and on towards McLean's he goes, flat out through turn number 5, flat out through turn number 6, but here he'll get nice and tight to the apex, ride it high, and then keep over to the left, brake and open up what is at McLean's corner at turn 7, 3rd gear as he makes way out of the corner, slightly off camber there, you've got to be careful of the car being pushed out, as he heads up there into Coppins, braking before the rise there in order to hit the apex, braking approximately 50 metres before corner apex, nice and tight as he makes way out the corner, and straight lines the steering now as he heads down the back straight here, up to 4th gear, up to 5th gear, and as he heads in towards the S's chicane, looks to his right hand side and braking on what will be approximately 75 metres from corner apex down to 3rd, and then just snipping the car between the 2 apexes where he heads on through there. Bit of a late shift, I believe hitting the rev limiter in fact as he shifted from 3rd to 4th and going into the braking zone now for Melbourne, braking about 100 metres from corner apex all the way down to 1st gear, trailing it to the apex and now pushing the car out the corner and upwards he goes goes towards turn at number 12, and as he does so here to complete the lap, coming into Gollard's a tricky hairpin to break into, given the fact it's over-rising into a dip, and if you brake too late, the car will understeer wide, but McCluskey nails it there in first gear as he makes it out the corner to the timeline. And what's it going to be for Benjamin McCluskey as he tries to improve and move up the board? Well, he's currently P25. Does he find a bit more time? He does. It's P6 there, now P7 for McCluskey, and now it's going to be P8 as we do see more improved lap times from Gavin Gardner, and also it's Jamie Dory, and well, Wojciech Swirydowicz. Adam Delmont goes for visual pole now and wears a 37.159. That's only 700ths faster than Dan Mould, but then there's a 4.5 tenth gap to what is Wojciech Swirydowicz, and it does seem as though right now the top two are just running away with this qualifying session. Meanwhile, in the prime class, he was the fastest driver out there in the practice session, and he's the fastest driver out there right now, but the best part of what is a 10th versus Jay Calais is Daniel Downing, who sits P14 overall, but he is your prime pole sitter provisionally right now as he makes his way in to McLean's once again, where he's got Sam Van Olsen immediately behind him. Van Olsen right now trying to find a bit more pace out there, struggling by comparison in the Audi RS3. And in terms of the cars we're expecting to go well, the Hyundai Elantra is always a given the fact it is the one-lap pace car, and our track temperatures right now are not too exceptionally high to lead to the Elantra's weakness, which is its tyre temperatures and that degradation of a 40 degrees centigrade being exposed, in the fact that as we do bring up the weather on the right hand side of your screen, you'll notice it in terms of that track temperature. We do have a 32 degrees centigrade track temperature with some partial cloud around here, and 18 degrees centigrade ambient temperature, so it does mean that the Elantras will feel quite comfortable on those front tyres, albeit if they push them too hard they may be exposed in the race, but not in qualifying. Meanwhile, then coming on to the other cars that make up the grid, well, the Audi RS3 here really has been the straight line speed beast, and it does do quite well in the corners, but the thing about this Audi as well is it can be quite sensitive to those curbs, and you do have to ride quite a few curbs here at Donington Park in order to get the most out of the car, and that may just be holding the Audi back to a small degree. The same could be said for the Honda Civic Type R's and the FK8 generation, including what is Lee Horn here as he makes his way on down in towards the braking zone. But it is turn number 12, and as he makes his way through the left-hander, well, the Honda Civic driver right now, he'll be finding that the Honda's very strong in the brakes and it's very strong in the corners, but the one thing it lacks compared to its peers is straight line acceleration, particularly in fourth gear and upwards, and you do spend a lot of time accelerating from third to fifth at the Donington Park circuit, and that could really be holding the Honda drivers back. Although I say that, we do have a Honda on pole provisionally right now for SRL Next Gen, and it's Adam Delmont here, who is 700 clear of teammate Dan Mould, and absolutely delivering the goods in the Japanese machine. But behind him is Dan Mould, and there's the Hyundai Veloster driver, the jack of all trades machine, going well at a circuit that has a little bit of everything, does Donington Park, and therefore Mould right now, I think will be feeling confident that it could be an SRL Next Gen lockout on that front row at 1-2, and with Daniel Martin only half a tenth behind right now, we can see that things are tightening at the top with only 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session, plus the final laps available to our drivers, and everyone right now getting their head down and seeing to find a way to get a bit more time before it is all said and done. But then again, it's easier said than done here to find a 10th at this circuit, and indeed to find a way up the order. Well, keep in mind that right now from P1 all the way down to P27 driver Harley Bicknell, it is less than a second. So if you find a 10th right now and your name is Harley Bicknell, you find a 10th, that is going to move you only up into what is, I do believe, P26 head of Wojciech Doble. But meanwhile, if your name is Luciano Wipfer in P11, you're currently half a second off a pole. You find a 10th out there, that is going to boost you all the way up to P6, and that's why things could not be closer as the closer you go towards the top of the field, as Dan Mould moves to visual pole now to 37.042. Will we see a 36.9 here in qualifying? If we do, that would be an incredible lap. And as our drivers make the way on around, we do say hello in the YouTube chat there to John Meredith, who says it's Tuesday night, let's go racing. Indeed, John, I hope you're doing well. Good evening to you. And I do know that your son Alex Meredith is out there, and I know the fan base at Alex Meredith will be roaring out absolutely loud right now, that hoping that he can end his season on a high. And we're speaking of Alex Meredith, he is currently your provisional pole sitter in the prime class. He's moved up to P11, currently 6 tenths off the pole position overall, but right now he is clear of Jay Clay by the best part of what is almost 2 tenths, and he'll be trying to carry that momentum for as long as he can, but he makes his way on through. We also say hello there in the YouTube chat to Stefan Vessels. Good evening to you, Stefan. Hope you're doing well. And well, as Meredith makes his way through the right hander here on McLean's, well, right now only 2 minutes left on the clock clock, and this qualifying session continues to tighten more and more, and we're waiting to see can anybody achieve a 36 in what is the pros in particular, and that battle for top 10 supremacy. And meanwhile in the prime class, can anybody take a candle to the light that Alex Meredith has shone as they make the way on through here and down towards the braking zone for the S's, as we also say hello to Kingston Racing now, wishes everybody good luck for today. And John Meredith saying, come on Alex, get that right foot down. And well, as the drivers make the way through that, I'm sure he will be pushing as much as he can and willing the car on. All right, now in terms of surprises in this qualifying session, we haven't got too many surprises at the moment. You could argue that Jamie Dory being down in P17, but as soon as I look to him, indeed our cameras look to him, he moves up to P10 there, the 37.602. We're going to say a bit of a surprise to see him down in P17, but he's found a way back up. And well, in terms of the two major players in that overall championship battle, it is right now Wojciech Swirydowicz, who's slightly ahead of Mikey Doble, P8, P9 respectively, and the gap between the two of them only what is 100th in qualifying, and that is how close they are between one another as more drivers continue to put laps in. Wayne Douglas goes up to P5 on a 37.451. 1 minute left on the clock here, so our drivers will be getting ready to go on to their final laps if they're not already on them, with the lap time around here being at the best part of just over 1.5 minutes. Indeed, they don't have as long in terms of the number of laps available, despite the period of the qualifying session being the same, i.e. 15 minutes, but you don't have as many laps here compared to national out, and that is also a fact here that you've got to get things done right first and foremost. And speaking of doing things right, Alan McCain jumps up to P16, P2 in prime there, just off of Alex Meredith by the best part, what is half a tenth. And well, McCain's bringing a late charge. Can the Irish Esports driver do it once again here and find a way to get himself onto provisional prime pole? Well, that's what I see is Daniel Martin's into the pits. His qualifying session is over. The same for James Spencer's gal down at P35. We've got Craig Tillotson out there as well. He's currently P36. Last of our drivers who has put in a qualifying lap, we do have Mark Kent and William Guthrie who've not put in laps, and I believe Mark Kent in the pit lane, so is Guthrie. So they're going to be starting from the back of the field for the first race of today, but the checker flag is out, and as it does come out, well, we've got a whole host of laps coming in, albeit Dan Mull going quite slowly there, coming out Goddards, and into the pits he goes, so he's not happy with that. Adam Delmont meanwhile comes to line, as meanwhile Wojciech Swirydowicz improves to P5, Adam Delmont gets clear, meanwhile Daniel Downing goes up to P9, the prime driver drops to P10 down to 37.531. Now can anybody respond to that? Can Meredith and McCain find a way back? Mikey Doble currently sits in P12, meanwhile Swirydowicz goes P5, so that's a late turn in the qualifying battle between them. Jamie Dory's P14. Meanwhile, in terms of Alex Meredith, in cross line, P16 on the best he does, P2 in prime by looks of things. Alan McCain comes on through and up towards Goddards he goes. He's still on a lap, it should be pointed out, and he's going to be one of the next drivers to make his way on through. Matthew Addy jumps up to P24. What is there, I do believe, and now Harley Bicknell goes up to P28 or P8 in prime, so some more improvements there from the JW Motorsport driver. But as McCain crosses the line, well, he's currently 6.5 tenths down, and that's where he's going to stay. He does not improve it any further. Craig Tillotson crosses the line just behind, and he stays P30. What about Mark Sykes as he makes his way down? Well, he's going very slowly there. I think Sykes perhaps an issue with the car, perhaps an invalidated lap, but either way, I don't think this is going to be a fast lap. And for Mark Sykes, that'll be qualifying complete. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe, unless we've got anybody else on a lap, albeit Jamie Dory, is he on a lap? Well, I don't think he is right now, given the fact we're already 1.5 minutes clear of the end of qualifying, and therefore you would expect that he would be practically at the finish line right now if he was on the lap. But it does mean that Dan Mould is going to take the final pole position from qualifying for this season on a 37.042, 1/10 clear of Adam Delmont. It is an SRL Next Gen lockout on the front row. Daniel Martin starts P3 with Luciano Vitford of a season best qualifying performance for some time, started P4. Wojciech Swirydowicz will start P5 in your third row, ahead of Joseph Doble. And meanwhile, in the prime class, Daniel Downing is the sole prime who qualifies inside the top 10 overall, and it's P1 for him in class. And the Goldwing Motorsports driver then be followed up by RD Simsports Alex Meredith, who starts P16 overall, but P2 in prime, and Alan McCain a further 2 places back overall. P18 completes the top 3 of the prime qualifying. It's definitely set the tempo here. Matthew Addy started at P24, and meanwhile Isaac Doble started P29. But remember, all Isaac Doble needs to do is he just needs to bring some points home, and that will be his qualifying complete. And with that also, what will be his championship crown being qualified. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we head to the grid for race number 1. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid for the first race of round 10 of Season 5 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing, powered by IMB Racewear, it is Dan Mould who takes pole position for SRL Next Gen and is joined on the front row by teammate Adam Delman in the first lockout of the season. Would you believe it? It's taken us 10 rounds to see a team lock out the front row. Daniel Martin starts P3 for RD Supersport, with Bradman Esports' Luciano Vitford starting P4. Behind them will be Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing starting P5 ahead of Joseph Doble, P6 for Double Sim Racing. Next Gen Pink's Wayne Douglas starts P7 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, his teammate, and there's Andrew Pine for iRacing Esports and Daniel Dan, your prime pole sitter for Goldwing Motorsport, who complete your top 10. On row number 6 is John Higgins Jr. for iRacing Esports ahead of Mikey Doble for Double Sim Racing. Behind them will be the pair of Martin Shirley for RD Simsport and Next Gen Pink's Jamie Dory, with Gavin Gardner for Next Gen Pink and RD Simsport's Alex Meredith on your 8th row. Row 9 goes to Russell Fowler for Performance Thing Esports and iRacing Esports Alan McCain, with Nick Clemens for iRacing Esports and JW Motorsports Reswap completing at your top 20. On row number 11 is Jav Stabila for Semper Racing and what is Affinities at Paul Zanatachi, both of them having a difficult qualifying session, where Luke Jones started off your 12th row of the grid for JW Motorsport ahead of Matthew Addy for Next Gen with Sam Cases. We then have on row number 13 Jay Clay, the privateer, ahead of Lee Horn for Next Gen with Sam Cases, with Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing, JW Motorsports Harley Bicknell following them up. And then we do have complete in the 15th row of the grid Isaac Doble for Double Sim Racing and Paul Scott for Next Gen with Sam Cases, with Mark Sykes starting P31 for behind his teammate ahead of Goldwing Motorsports Sam Van Olst, Sam Smith and Jonathan Collins line up on row 17 for iRacing Esports and Whiskey Runners Racing, with Aztec Racing James Mascascal P35 ahead of Craig Tiddleston for FR20 Sim Racing. William Guthrie starts P37 for Full Tilt V Motorsport, and then last but not least Mark Kent starts P38 for Full Tilt V Motorsport alongside his teammate. But the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen. Our drivers are all ready to go here, and well, we are waiting for the first race of the day to get underway, and the lights are going to go on very shortly. Indeed, the light sequence begins. It's race number 103 to wrap up the championship. It's SRL Next Gen P1, P2, and it's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the first race here at Donington Park's Grand Prix circuit, as Dan Mould gets a phenomenal start off the line, and as they roar their way into turn number 1, Adam Delman meanwhile having to go on the wide line as they make the way in. They're not taking any chances, but Daniel Martin is, and as they come through the opening corner, looks like it's all safe between them for now as we look to the blimp camera as they roar their way on down the hill. It's a distant camera shot, but you can see all the field have safely made it through the opening corner. Although I say that's been an instant further back, we'll have to take a look at that very shortly, but it's tears for some drivers as they roar their way down into the old hairpin, and as they do, everyone right now starting to pinch together as we see a bit of contact between Martin Shirley and Jamie Dory. Shirley getting an advantage, but as they make the way on through now, it's almost 3 wide there. It's on the inside, coming up through in towards McLean's. It's going to be Mikey Doble battling with Daniel Downing, and behind that is going to be none other than John Higgins Jr. But right now, Mikey Doble having to be brave as meanwhile going wide. That's going to be Luciano Vitford who's taking a tour to the grass there. I think that's been aided by some contact with another driver, but as they come on through Coppins Corner right now, most of the field safely on through the opening half of this first lap as they roar their way round and down towards the S's as they charge their way in towards the next braking zone. Here come our drivers all on towards the S's for the first time, left into right, and you can see there Daniel Downing side by side with John Higgins Jr. Higgins Jr. right now absolutely battling tooth and nail, wants to pick up the places and hunt down the top 5. Meanwhile, Daniel Downing out of position, going defensive versus Martin Shirley. It's going to be 3 wide of Shirley in the middle, Downing on the left, Dory on the right, Whitford behind, and onto the brakes. Oh goodness me, there's contact between Downing and Higgins Jr. Downing in, misanticipating how long the braking zone he needed, but he's able to survive it. But with that, Jamie Dory looks up the inside. I think this is going to be a slam shut case of Jamie Dory taking the position off his rival as they all come roaring on through. Nick Clements a bit further behind, 3 wide, trying to do the Moses here versus West, the pair of, I believe, now Alex Meredith and also Alan McCain. Well, as he comes on through there, they make their way through. That is, I believe, Daniel Downing coming back on. Jamie Dory pointing in the wrong direction, or is that Gavin Gardner? I think, in fact, that might be Gavin Gardner who's gone the wrong way round. Not quite sure what's happened there, but meanwhile, it's going to be a run wide from West Luciano Vitford there, just obscured by the timing tower. As they go on to lap number 2, it's an absolutely dramatic end to the first lap of racing here, and there's still more to come. As meanwhile, we look to what is Alan McCain chasing after Jasper Speed and Alex Meredith, and Meredith's going to get ahead here into the old hairpin and hold the position for what is P15. But as they make the way on through, we look to Wayne Douglas who right now trying to break away in the NXTGEN pink machine. He's had a bit of contact with Andrew Pike as Pike tries to get a sniff of the inside in towards McLean's win. Then there's contact between. I think Pike would say, well, he squeezed me. I think Douglas will say, well, that's not fair. But meanwhile, Pike carries on here in a tribute livery back to the Super Touring era. Indeed, the old Peugeots, if many of you remember the green and gold livery on the machines. But as he makes his way on down here in the Hyundai Elantra, don't be fooled, and roaring his way on through here in a classic machine. Right now, it's going to be just behind Higgins Jr., who's now knocking on the door, Benjamin McCluskey, and Mikey Doble's already up to P7. Meanwhile, Wojciech Swirydowicz is into P4. Both of the championship contenders here absolutely storming through the field. Mikey Doble more so than Swirydowicz has only gained the one place, but as they come on through it, meanwhile, we look back to Alex Meredith. It's going to be 4 wide. Surely not into the hairpin as they come on down. Once they do, that is going to be on the inside, and none other than Justin Sabino, who overtakes 3 for the price of 1 corner. Alex Meredith in the end being absolutely bamboozled there by what is, I do believe, Sam Knowles, who takes lead for the prime class, and how they managed to make it through that, I will never know, but they don't make it through Gollards as there's contact between Meredith and what is Nick Clibbins and McCain, and in the end, the Irish esports drivers end up triggering the domino effect, and Meredith is the one who's turned. As they make their way down towards turn 1 in towards Red Gate, they go on to lap number 3, where it's definitely been drama aplenty, and meanwhile, just behind, here's Isaac Doble, and right now, the Doble Sim Racing driver who started down in P29, he's gained 7 places overall so far, 4 in class, he's up into the top 5 of the prime class, and he's on course to secure his prime championship come the end of its first race, because if it's not Matthew Addy or Daniel Dannon leading the prime class, then they cannot guarantee the championship goes to race number 2, and Doble right now, we're feeling confident it's all coming his way as they make the way out of the old hairpin. As they roar on through, we take a look back at what happened on lap number 1 between Luke Jones, Lee Horn and Matthew Addy. Well, this was coming out of Redgate corner, 3 wide. Addy on the grass, returning. Meanwhile, Jones and Horn come together, and in the end, Addy's in the wrong place at the right time in order to be involved in that instance. So I think the 3 drivers just end up squeezing into one another, particularly Jones and Horn, albeit we'll need a bit more of a camera angle from that. We're not going to get one at this time, I don't think. But what also happened on the open lap for Vitford was he made his way up into the braking zone here. This was contact with Wojciech Swirydowicz. Swirydowicz backing out there, but the damage done as Vitford gliding sideways on through McLean. So that explains what happened to the Brabham esports driver, an absolute nightmare. And then we had right at the end of the lap what happened to a number of drivers, including Jay Clay and Reese Watt, and this was coming up towards Gollard's hairpin here as they made their way into the braking zone, and Calais on the inside versus Anatachi onto the brakes they went. Oh goodness me, and Calais on the inside there, Watt going slowly, and then Calais being a battered of bruise and into the path of what was a resurgence of Reese Watt. Well, that was the opening lap and the drama with it, but as we now do return it to the racing here, ladies and gentlemen, still more racing to come, and well, as our drivers roar their way on through and in towards turn 1, we're on to lap number 4, and we do look to what is Wojciech Swirydowicz, who continues to charge his way as fast as he can up the order. He's not taking any chances into P3 now, as meanwhile SRL NXTGEN are running away with this 1-2, Mould ahead of Delman, then Swirydowicz P3 ahead of Martin P4, Joseph Doble P5 ahead of Pike P6, McCluskey, Higgins Jr., Mikey Doble and Wayne Douglas complete your top 10. Jamie Dory meanwhile sits P11, and still your prime leader sitting in P14 is Sam Van Ols. He has 2 places over second place prime Paul Scott, and third place prime Alex Meredith, a further 2 place behind in P18. Well, Alan McCain and Isaac Doe were hot on his heels there in the top 5 of the prime class, but as our drivers make the way on through and down towards the S's, well, as they do, we look to Alex Meredith here side by side, battling with Alan McCain and looking to try and gain a place back here as McCain trying to hold on as much as he possibly can. It's going to be very close, nip and tuck between these two as they make their way down the back straight. You can see McCain beyond that outside line. He's got a little bit more speed here. He's on a compromised line now under braking into the S's. So you would imagine here that Meredith will fancy his chances. We ride on board with the RD Simsport driver, but then McCain getting past and Meredith losing the rear end of the car coming out of the S's, and that's going to cost him all the momentum he needs. And as a result, McCain just able to cruise away for a brief moment, but as he heads on through Melbourne hairpin, really struggling with the car there, and will Meredith, I think, coming down the gearbox a bit too aggressively. Was that contact with Anatachi? We were on board, we couldn't quite tell, but right now the RD Simsport driver falling behind the Affinity driver as they make the way towards the end of the first half of this race. Well, we've got some smoke just in front of them now, and I believe there's been a lock-up for a driver or two. We can't quite tell who's had the lock-up, but what we can tell you in the meantime is Luciano Vitford, I think that was the Brabham Esports driver. The car is struggling circling as he makes his way in towards Redgate right now. You can see that front left tyre is not pointing in a straight direction. I think right now the suspension is what we like to refer to as crabbing, which is when the wheels and the suspension rods are not pointing as they normally should, or as he makes his way through. Meanwhile, there's late drama here in the championship, and it is for Daniel Downing, who right now has had an incident at what is the Gollard's hairpin as he comes into the pits. What's happened to our championship contender in the prime class? Here's a replay to find out. Well, it's happened well before this, in fact limping the car on around, and we do have an earlier replay as to what happened to Downing, and this was battling into McLean's with Sam Smith. There was already damage on the car, I think, earlier in the race, and in the end Daniel Downing's race going from good to bad to worse in the space of the opening 4 laps here, and will right now not the way to start of the day whatsoever. But meanwhile, as we return to your live pictures, here's your race leader in the form of Dan Mould, and right now SRL Next Gen's Mould and Delmont still running away with this as they head on through. From them, however, this is Wojciech Doble on the inside of Daniel Martin, the double sim racing driver, giving it everything here. He wants to go hunting after Wojciech Swirydowicz, not just to help out brother Mikey, but also to make sure that Semper Racing don't get the upper hand on Doble Sim Racing in the team's championship. But there goes Daniel Martin up the inside, a lunge at a distance, but in the end overcooking it into the corner, and well, Wojciech Doble not needing any second chances to cut back and take the position back. Brilliant racing between the two of them as they go on to lap number 6. As they come on through Redgate corner, from them we look back to Mikey Doble here in P10 as the Doble Sim Racing drivers definitely found himself right in the thick of the battle. Onto making a lot of progress early on, falling back down to P10 behind Wayne Douglas, and as he comes on through turn number 1 into 2, right now the Doble Sim Racing driver will be cognizant of the fact that Swirydowicz is in P3 and therefore he needs to gain some more places. But of course the flip side of the coin is he may be hoping that right now, if he can finish just a little bit further up inside this top 10, the reverse grid will benefit him and put him right towards the front of the grid, whereas Swirydowicz will start towards the back of the reverse grid for race number 2, and that will equalise the two of them going into the final race of the season. But then again, it's all going to be marginal here, and we'll bring you those updates after each and every race. There's provisional updates, and of course the standings will be provisional until after stewarding has been affected over the next couple of days from the racing. But as we do see Doble chasing after to Douglas. Meanwhile, looking further down the order, we look to William Guthrie and Gavin Gardner, two drivers who also lost out considerably in the opening stages of the race, and Gavin Gardner more so than most, losing 14 places overall as they come through it. And so do Craig Tillotson here, battling with Mark Sykes, who makes the move up the inside of Tillotson for his P25 or P7 in Pro-Am, and the FR20 Sim Racing driver right now under pressure of Mark Kent in an all-new livery on where's the Full Tilt V Motorsport machine, indeed a prototype livery for the end of this season. Looking up the inside there, and Mark Kent making it count as the zombie machine, as he likes to refer to it, the zombie Audi RS3 makes his way on through, and now looking for its way around the outside of a living RS3 in the form of the Mark Sykes Designs car as they make the way through the right. Oh goodness me, and what on earth has happened there? I believe that's Gavin Gardner who found his way absolutely parked on the apex on what is at Melbourne, but good, that was an absolute surprise. And what exactly happened, let's find out. This was going down to the braking zone, and as they did, so Gardner was a bit further back from the battle, and oh my good lord, and contact there puts him into the barrier and right on a collision course with what was Sykes, but also on top of that, what was Mark Kent there, and I don't think Sykes and Kent saw it coming. I don't think Gardner could do anything about it. Well, it's definitely drama here at Donington Park, and this is only race number 1, it should be pointed out. That's the tow to the pits of the Next Gen Pink driver, and I think Sykes and Tillotson will also be doing the same. But meanwhile, coming back to your live pictures here as we ride up board and look back from the rear of the Semper Racing 80 machine piloted by Wojciech Swirydowicz as he battles for P3, tries to hold on versus Joseph Doble and Daniel Martin. Keep in mind, of course, he does have the best part of 50 kilograms of success ballast in this car, and right now we're feeling the strain, feeling the weight as he just tries to keep the Doble Sim Racing and the RD Sim Sport drivers behind him. After this lap, there's 3 more to go, and with the advantage to SRL Next Gen, 4 seconds and growing by the lap. Swirydowicz right now will be only thinking about one thing, and that is making sure his rivals stay behind all the way to the finish. And he banks his major points, but as he comes out to turn number 11 up towards 12 he goes. Right now Doble and Martin have got the bit between the teeth, and they're both trying to push on. Daniel Martin more so, given the fact that he does have that outside chance to take the championship crown should results swing his way. And he'll want to get it ahead of Swirydowicz, there's no question about it, as they make the way on to another lap. roaring their way through. Personal best for race leader Dan Mulder, 37.396. Meanwhile, Delman lapping a tenth a lap faster by comparison, and these guys a bit further behind, not quite on the pace, given the amount of battling they're doing, but still just keeping their heads down. As meanwhile, Mikey Doble looking around the outside of Wayne Douglas into Redgate corner here, and while the turn rubbing paint, trading door paint as they make the way on down through the crane of curves, and this is an important overtake for Doble. He's got to stick it in now as he makes his way on down through turns 2 and 3 to the inside of the left-hander he goes, and Douglas in the end 9 that understeer is only going to find if he tries to hold it on the outside. Well, Mikey Doble takes the position for the old hairpin and moves up to P9, and now his next start will be John Higgins Jr., who's 4 seconds up the road, but has he got enough time to hunt down the iRacing Esports driver? Well, meanwhile, Jamie Dory now tucking in behind Wayne Douglas, and you would imagine NXTGEN Pink Drives may swap the places given the fact that Dory is a championship contender right now. Meanwhile, Wayne Douglas cannot win at the overall championship, but that's a question for them to solve as they make the way on through Coppice Bend. But as they come out of the right-hander and down the back straight they go. We look to Harley Bicknell and Isaac Doble here, as right now they fight for P5 in the prime class. Isaac Doble still trying to make more progress as this race goes on, and as he comes on through the right-hander, well, meanwhile, I think it's going to be Reese Watt who looks to the move instead of Isaac Doble, and I think it's going to be a bit of a smile on the face of Bicknell. They look at his rearview mirror and notice that Isaac Doble right now has just been edged out as they make the way down the back straight. But remember, for the Doble Sim Racing driver, it doesn't matter so long as he finishes this race. He will be champion, given the fact that Daniel Downing has had an absolute disaster race by comparison and is not within sight of taking the win, nor is Matthew Addy, and that's what they need to do to keep this championship alive. So as he makes his way down in towards turn number 11, I think he's not going to be thinking about that championship right now. All he's going to be thinking about is bringing the car home. But from them, meanwhile, we do look a little bit further up the order to what is Luciano Vitford as he makes his way out of the Goddard's hairpin. He's got Paul Zenatachi for company right behind as they power their way down the start finish straight onto lap number 9 they go. Well, the penultimate lap of this first race, and then you can see just in the foreground of the camera shot Paul Scott there still running in what is P2 in the prime class, P16 overall, and having a very solid first race here at Donington Park, and indeed a nice revival of form for the NXTGEN Sam Case's driver as Vitford and Zenatachi give chase to one another. We ride on board here with the Affinity driver, albeit we have to hold that thought, ladies and gents, because there's been drama for Wojciech Swirydowicz going on through what was that, I do believe, McLean's, and as the drivers come through, there's even more battling here. As we can see, there's McCluskey passing in the rear picture of what was Swirydowicz, and meanwhile Joseph Doble has dropped in behind Andrew Pike, but what exactly has led to Wojciech Swirydowicz dropping from P3 down to P6, or P7 in fact now? Well, here's the answer. As they made the way up into the corner, Swirydowicz with a bit of contact there, and Joseph Doble coming in very hot on the brakes and sending the Semper Racing driver wide. Well, that's not going to please number 80 driver there, and was he rejoined the end. Joseph Doble running wide as well and losing the place to Andrew Pike, but the damage being done to Swirydowicz, and John Higgins Jr. now will be behind Swirydowicz, and then it'll be Mikey Doble. Well, that is definitely going to turn this championship on its head as they make the way on through onto the final lap of racing in race number 1. But as the Doble Sim Racing driver makes his way down through turn at number 2, well, from them to Benjamin McCluskey and Wojciech Swirydowicz. Swirydowicz right now will just be taking a deep breath and thinking, okay, I've got to try and fight back for P6 now, maybe grab a top 5 if anything happens between the drivers in front. But as they make the way through turn at number 1, the number 80 driver here will know that a championship is not won just on one race a day. It's won all 3 here in the season finale, and therefore so long as he finishes ahead of Mikey Doble and keeps bringing on the points in, that championship will gradually creep back into his hands. But it is going to be a tug of war between the two of them, as meanwhile we do look from where's your P7 driver here. In fact, we stay with him for a little bit longer as he gets the better run out of the old hairpin versus McCluskey, and McCluskey right now will be feeling a bit of pressure as they head up in towards McLeod's. Meanwhile, Higgins Jr. just behind, can't quite get involved. You see Swirydowicz twitching under braking, absolutely pushing the car to the maximum it can on the ragged edge of adhesion, as we like to say. And as he comes in towards Coppice Bend, he'll be hoping for the best possible run all the way through and down towards the S's. But as he does so here, right now it's drama and batting all the way through the field. But where there's no batting, it's right at the front, and we'll come to the 2 drivers at the front very shortly. But as they come down in towards the braking zone here, no moves being attempted, and nor will there be between these two right now, Dan Mould or Adam Delmon. 8 tenths between the two of them, and looking solidly in control of this race as they make the way up the rise. And we got Andrew Pike here in the iRacing Esports machine P4, and keeping Joseph Doble at bay with Daniel Martin just in front and keeping away. But meanwhile, we look back to your leader, but it's been some time since we said this, but there's going to be a massive grin on the face of SRO NXTGEN, because it's going to be a 1-2 for the team, and it is Dan Mould who brings home the win in race number 1 of the day, and a teammate Adam Delmon P2. Daniel Martin comes on through to take P3 for RD Sim Sport in a great start to his season finale ahead of Andrew Pike, Joseph Doble, Benjamin McCluskey, Wojciech Swirydowicz and John Higgins Jr. Mikey Doble finishes P9 ahead of Wayne Douglas with Jamie Doyle and Jasper Sabula behind. Sam Van Knowles takes the win in the Prime Class P13 over on an absolutely deliberate drive, and then it will be Paul Scott's second place in Prime. But as we can see there, Paul's a touch again ahead of Alex Meredith to the line. Meanwhile, this man comes on through. He's shaking it from side to side. He knows what he's just done. He is your Prime champion for Season 5 as he comes on P24 or P6 in Prime. It's Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing who takes his Prime crown with that result, and the result's not going the way of Matthew Addy and what was Daniel Downing, and for Isaac Doble right now and the Doble Sim Racing team, I don't think they're going to quite believe that it's happened in the first race of the day, and it has finally become a reality as the 65 driver here just cruises down. I think William Guthrie quite eager to come through. Indeed, a number of drivers are very eager to come through, but Doble right now is undoubtedly going to savour this moment as what is your provisional Prime champion, subject to stewards' inquiries after all the racing today. But right now this result makes it mathematically impossible for his rivals to find a way back in that championship. But as he comes on through, I believe everybody has finished the race, ladies and gentlemen, and it will be, as we look back to the front of the field, well, for SRL Next Gen, they can't factor into the overall Drivers' Championship, but what they can do is try to charge their way up the Team's Championship come the very end of the season, and that's the way you do it for Dan Mould and Adam Delmont in an absolutely brilliant drive to a 1-2 between them. Daniel Martin in the end at P3 there for RD Simsport, and well, definitely trying to keep the hopes alive of a P3 finish in the championship overall, if not trying to snatch a P2 or even the crown at the end. Don't count him out yet, given the fact we've got 2 more races to go. And then Andrew Pike and Joseph Doble completing that top 5. Sam Van Knowles into the pits here. And again, what a great win for the Goldwing Motorsport driver. He is second Prime win of the season. But this one, he's done in race number 1 of the day. And he'll be absolutely pleased with it, as will Paul Scott for the second place on the Prime podium for Next Gen with Sam Cases. And then Alex Meredith back on the Prime podium. The RD Simsport driver of P19. And, well, a great start to his Donington Park Grand Prix experience. But as all tries to make the way into the pit lane and coming on through what is the final corner here and in to the short pits. Well, all of our drivers here deserve a round of applause. 38 drivers started, and in the end we did have 37 finishers, with this sole retiree being Gavin Gardner, I do believe. But we're going to get to those race results very shortly as all of our drivers get set for race number 2. And well, as they do, here come the results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after an incredible first race at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in the season finale of the NXTCC Season 5, Dan Mould for SRL Next Gen taking the win over teammate Adam Delman, a 1-2 for the team, and then Daniel Martin a further, what was 6 seconds behind, P3 there for RD Simsport. Andrew Pike P4 for iRace Esports ahead of Joseph Doble, the Doble Sim Racing driver there, absolutely delivering a strong top 5 finish ahead of Benjamin McCluskey and Wojciech Swirydowicz. The Semper Racing driver, I think, will be frustrated about the contact between himself and Joseph Doble come at the conclusion of race number 1 and 9. It's cost him some major points, but at the same time he'll still take confidence in the fact he was able to finish ahead of rival Mikey Doble. Between himself and Mikey Doble, John Higgins Jr. for iRace Esports P8, and then at Mikey Doble P9 ahead of Wayne Douglas to complete your top 10. And behind the Next Gen Pink driver, his teammate was Jamie Dory there, P11 best the rest ahead of Jasper Sabula, and the Semper Racing driver having one of the understated drives of this first race of the day, having gained 9 places from a P21 start. Sam Van Knowles, P13, your pro and winner for Goldwing Motorsport, ahead of Nick Clibbins and Martin Shelley completing your top 15. Paul Scott, second place Prime, P16 overall for Next Gen with Sam Cases, ahead of Luciano Vitford and Paul Zanatachi. And then we complete the top 20 with Alex Meredith, P19 for RD Simsport, and wrapping up the pro and podium of what was Van Knowles, Scott and himself, and then Alan McCain just missing out on the Prime podium, but P20 overall and P4 in class, and the Irish Esports driver will be pleased with that result and a good set of points for the team. Lee Horn P21 ahead of Harley Bicknell, and well, we talked about a little bit of magic, ladies and gentlemen, and it is his first top 5 in the Prime class of the season for Harley Bicknell. Congratulations to the JW Motorsport driver. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely pleased with that, and the team will be congratulating him. Reese Watt, his teammate, just behind, and then Isaac Doble, P24, P6 in Prime, and the result which confirms effectively that he is your pro IMB Racewear champion for Season 5 of the NXTCC. William Guthrie, P25, ahead of Mark Kent, with the Aztec Racing pair James Mazesgal and Matthew Sheridan, P27 and P28. Your top 30 completed by Jay Clay and Matthew Addy, both in the wars early on in the race today, ahead of Russell Fowler, and then Luke Jones, P32, ahead of Jonathan Collins, with Mark Sykes and Craig Tillotson completing your finishes on the lead lap. A lap down, we saw Sam Smith and Daniel Dannon take P36 and P37 respectively, both having a difficult first race of the day. And Gavin Gardner, your sole retiree, finishing 5 laps down, I do believe will be classified as a race finisher as he completed exactly half the race distance for NXTGEN Ping. But 38 starters, 37 finishers, of which 35 on the lead lap. And we've still got plenty more races to come in. That was only race 1 of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 2 will be coming up in approximately what will be 15 minutes time. But of course, before we do cut to race number 2, we do have that big and important question of the reverse grid draw for what will be our first reverse grid race of the day. And here we cut to the commentary booth. Good evening to you all. I hope you're doing well and enjoying the racing so far. And tell you one thing, if you're enjoying it as much as my vocal cords are, I'm not going to have any voice left by the end of today. But just to remind you, we have the lottery bowl here with the numbers 6 through to 10 inside. And what we're going to do very shortly is close our eyes, shuffle the balls and make our draw. And we're going to be picking out of the lottery bowl 1 ball, and that will be our reverse grid position for our second race of the day. Without further ado, let's get to it. So there's the shuffle, and now let's do the draw. And our reverse grid for our first reverse grid race of the day, race number 2, will be P11. It will be Jamie Dory on pole. It's going to be our almost maximum reverse grid for race number 2. And I think the sparks are only going to fly evermore because it means it will be Jamie Dory and Wayne Douglas on the front row. And behind them, Mikey Doble and John Higgins Jr. with Wojciech Swirydowicz starting at P5. Well, how will it all continue and more? We'll find out in due course, ladies and gentlemen, race number 2. But we're going to cut away for a brief moment for a word from our sponsor, IMB Racewear. And then we're going to be catching up with your prime champion, Wojciech Doble, as he sits in the paddock currently. We'll see you very shortly. So, and what was an absolutely incredible race to kick off our first race of the day and our season finale here at Donington Park's Grand Prix circuit. We got to see a standout performance from the pair of what's SRL NXTGEN as we look back to the race start here with Dan Mulder and Adam Delman both having a great start off the line and running away with what be a 1-2 in the end. But of course, whilst we are celebrating their first 1-2 of the season, and indeed I believe the only 1-2 we have seen from a team all season in terms of the overall finishing positions, we need to talk to this man who started a lot further down the grid, but in the end fought on through and just kept his head down and avoided the drama, Wojciech Doble. And we're going to try and grab a word with him very shortly now as we do try to catch him in the pit lane. And we're going to be hearing the thoughts from the man who has been crowned your Pro-Am champion as we do try to find him. And here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, as we do get a patch through to him from what is, excuse me, down in the pit lane. Good evening to you, Wojciech. Do you have time for a quick word or two?
Yeah, I think so.
Wojciech, how does it feel to know that with that P6 finish in the Pro-Am class, P24 overall, you are our crowned Season 5 IMB Racewear Pro-Am champion?
Yeah, it feels great. I'm more relieved than anything to get it done in race 1 so I can have a good crack at the last 2 races, hopefully get a nice little race 3 reverse grid.
Well, Wojciech, it was always going to be a challenge at this season. I mean, if we think back to Season 4 and the heartbreak we saw after what was a very strong start there, it has been a campaign which has seen you absolutely run rampant at the top of the field. I mean, I have to ask, has there been a different approach this season compared to Season 4? Because you've been unstoppable throughout.
I realised in Season 4 that in the Pro-Ams, if I can just keep it consistent throughout the whole season, I'll have a very good chance in being right up there come the end of the season. And this season I've done just that and kept it clean all year, and it's paid off very, very well.
Well, it definitely has paid off. And whilst we'll talk a bit more about your season as a whole when we catch you after the racing today, if you are around for a word or two later, just talking a little bit more about this first race, of course, knowing that all you had to do in this first race was finish the race inside the points and have your rivals not take victory. Were you thinking about that at all, or was it just get the car to the end of race number 1?
Yeah, it was pretty much. I saw on the first lap, I think Matthew Addy got into a little bit of incident and I know I was ahead of him. So after that, it was all just keep it clean, keep it on the road, and I'm sure I'll be able to get it wrapped up.
Well, you did exactly that, and it was a superb way to drive. And I have to ask, with this Donington Park circuit, I mean, we've already seen some absolutely spectacular battling up and down the field, but it looks as though you were no stranger to getting your elbows out either when you needed to.
No, I was just picking my battles in that race, trying and just see where I end up at the end, making sure I don't get my elbows out too much, but trying to keep my nose clean for sure.
Well, with that, now looking ahead to race number 2, you said only moments ago that the pressure is now off. Have you set yourself a target for the second race of the day?
Yeah, just get into the reverse grid draw and hopefully quite high up in race 3 and give it a crack from there.
Well, Isaac, we'll leave you to it and let you rest in preparation for race number 2, but congratulations once again on sealing the crown in the first race of the day, and I'm sure we look forward to plenty more from you in the upcoming races.
Yeah, thank you, see you later.
So hearing that there from none other than Wojciech Doble, and the Doble Sim Racing driver, your provisionally crowned Prime IMB Racewear champion for season 5. Of course, subject to all stewards' inquiries after the racing, but as we understand it now, it being mathematically impossible for his championship lead to be overturned based on the results so far. But there, I think, just talking a little bit about the relief that he's done it, but also the difference in mentality compared to season 4. And it's a mentality change that has definitely boded well for him, and we've seen that consistency absolutely delivered time and time again. And ever since what was round number 3, he's not left the top spot of the Pro-Am Championship. And that is an incredible statistic. And many of you would say, well, has he just simply had this championship in terms of pace all the way through? Well, no, we have seen some absolutely incredible performances from the likes of Alex Meredith, also Daniel Downing, to name 2 drivers. Matthew Addy you could throw into there as well, and we could continue to add drivers into the mix. But the one commonality in all of it is that Wojciech has been the driver that has never dropped major points compared to his rivals, and that's why he is your champion. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a brief cutaway now in preparation for race number 2. And before we do go racing again, we'll give you an update on all the championship standings. But we will be right back in approximately 5 minutes' time, and we will see you very shortly. Plenty of races still to come. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the build-up to race number 2. We've had one race here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, and it was absolutely fiery. We have already seen a champion crowned in the form of our prime IMB Racewear champion, Wojciech Doble, but we've still got 2 more championships to crown. The overall Drivers' Champion and also the Teams' Championship, and it's only appropriate that we now give you an update on the top 5 of each championship going into this second race of the day. Started off with the overall, and as we can see here, well, currently it is the case whereby we do have Wojciech Swirydowicz leading by a single point over Mikey Doble, and Daniel Martin has closed the delta to the championship leader to 60 points. Wojciech Swirydowicz and Jamie Doble sit only 2 points apart right now, and they continue to close on one another. Well, if the results go the way of Sabula, Dorian Martin, could we see it suddenly become, out of nowhere, a 5-way fight for the crown in the final race? Well, many of us will be hoping for that, there's no doubt about that, including you guys and girls at home, but definitely the damage has been done in race number 1. Meanwhile, in the prime class, your confirmation here of Wojciech Doble now holding a 141 point gap over Matthew Addy and Daniel Downing, a further 22 points behind, and hence the confirmation that Wojciech Doble is your prime IMB Racewear champion provisionally, following race number 1, with Sam Van Olst now in P4 ahead of Alan McCain, but it is only 22 points between the 2 of them. And now coming on to the Teams Championship, NXTGEN Pink have had their advantage slightly cut to Double Sim Racing down to 124 points, with Semper Racing on 231 behind, and then SRL NXTGEN have had a huge boost that pulls them clear of Brabham Esports, Performance Link Esports and Affinity, thanks to their 1-2 from Dan Mould and Adam Delmont in the first race of the day. Well, that is how everything stands, ladies and gentlemen, after what has been our first race, and now we have got more racing to come here, and as our drivers get themselves all set and ready to go, we've also seen some questions from you guys and girls there with regards to, firstly, what's happened to the YouTube thumbnail, and we should point out there does seem to be a bit of a glitch between our broadcasting software and the way YouTube handles thumbnails, and the fact that if you were waiting for the broadcast to go live prior to it actually going live, you would have seen the correct thumbnail, but it seems as though a default thumbnail is being used in the background. We'll look into that later on in January and going into February. We promise you we'll investigate it, but also we have questions there from number you with regards to the age of Wojciech Doble. Well, I'm not quite sure personally, but I do know he's a bit of a youngster, and will definitely showing a lot of maturity out there, the young member of the Doble family, and an absolutely phenomenal performance. As we say hello to Duncan at Moraes there, who says that Sam Van Olst is cleaning up with regards to that winning race number 1 in the prime class, and congratulating Isaac on his prime championship crown. We also say hello there to Joseph Doble, who's talking with John Higgins Jr. in the YouTube chat with regards to the contact between himself and Wojciech Swirydowicz. We also say hello to Azza there, who says roll on next week, the R Factor 2 mini-season. Indeed, Azza, we've got more details about that coming at the end of today's broadcast, and we'll do keep on coming in the chats, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's in YouTube, Twitch or Facebook. We can see all 3 of them, and we'll definitely great to see so many of you interacting today, particularly in the YouTube chat. But as our drivers get themselves all positioned and set, we are only now 20 seconds away from going to the grid for our second race of the day, and as Alex Meredith makes his way on around after definitely what was a challenging first race, but one that he rose to the challenge of. Can he find his way through? Can he potentially take a race win here at Donington Park's Grand Prix circuit? Sam Van Olst will start on pole for the prime class. Remember, you have the 32.5 kilograms of success ballast. It's going to be a lot of weight on the shoulders of many a driver. Will they be able to shrug the weight off? Well, let's find out, because here comes race number 2. As our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they line up for our second race of the day. It is Jamie Dory who lines up on reverse grid pole position for NXTGEN Pink, joined on the front row by teammate Wayne Douglas. Double Sim Race's Mikey Doble starts P3 ahead of John Higgins Jr. for iRacing Esports, with row 3 going to Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing and NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey. Joseph Doble starts P7 for Double Sim Racing ahead of iRacing Esports is Andrew Pike, with Daniel Martin lining up P9 there for RD Simsport ahead of Adam Delmont for SRL NXTGEN. P11 Best the Rest is Dan Mould for SRL NXTGEN ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing, with row number 7 going to the pairing of Sam Van Olst, your prime pole sitter for Goldwing Motorsport, looking to make it 2 wins out of 2, and Nick Clibbins for iRacing Esports. Martin Shirley lines up P15 ahead of Paul Scott, with Luciano Vitford and Paul Zanatachi on row number 9, and the top 20 is completed by Alex Meredith and Alan McCain, with Lee Horn and Harley Bicknell behind them on row number 11, Reese Watt and Isaac Double on row number 12, Row 13 goes to William Guthrie and Mark Kent ahead of James Mansell-Scout and Matthew Sheraton. But that's all we can cover, ladies and gentlemen, because the lights are going on. Our drivers are set. It's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the second race of the day as our drivers charged away up towards turn number 1. Jamie Dory getting an absolutely brilliant start, it would seem. And as they head in towards Redgate Corner, right now behind Wojciech Swirydowicz immediately on the attack here, looking to go up the inside of Higgins Jr., not wasting any time whatsoever as they all make the way on through. And as our drivers make the way on down towards what will be the old hairpin, we'll look here over the drivers right now as the helicopter sits over the top of the racers as they make the way on through the crane of curves here. And what you can see, Mould and Delman already swapping places, as meanwhile on the inside goes Joseph Doble there versus McCluskey. 2 wide they go for the old hairpin, and as they make the way up the rise, here comes what is Daniel Martin, who looks to try and make it 3 wide as they attack the way uphill, albeit Martin nice and close here as he gets on through the left-hander into the right-hander of McLean's. But the problem is that right now he can't really look for a way in through. He's got to try and hedge his bets behind a rival and hope it works out. And meanwhile Martin backs out of it, and Andrew Pike falls in amongst the battle as well, as I think Pike having a poor run through the corner. And as they come on around through Coppice with Doble versus McCluskey, side by side they still go here as they make the way down towards turns at 9 and 10 in towards the S's. Meanwhile Mikey Doble on the attack here at the front of the field, looking to try and go for the move versus Wayne Douglas into the S's. Through left and to right they go. Douglas holds the lead. Jamie Dory drops down to P3 after a poor run on the opening half of the lap. And as they come down now towards the braking zone for Melbourne, well, here comes Swirydowicz looking at the inside of Jamie Dory, going all in on the brakes here. Dory going slightly deeper than they would like, and as a result Swirydowicz is going to come through for P3 as they make the way up towards turn at number 12, and from then to John Higgins Jr. behind, where it's definitely getting very close. As meanwhile there's been a huge shunt at what is the hairpin, and I believe that has involved a number of drivers, including what is Mark Kent and Matthew Sheraton. We'll get a replay of that when we can, ladies and gentlemen. But meanwhile, in what's been a bit of a less dramatic opening at lap for race number 2, here's your top 10. It's Douglas ahead of Mikey Doble, followed by Swirydowicz. But meanwhile we say that Doble trying to look up the inside, can't quite find it. From Swirydowicz it's Dory P4 ahead of Higgins Jr. P5, Doble as in Joseph Doble P6 ahead of Martin P7, Mole P8, Pike P9, McCluskey P10, and Adam Delman completes your run to best Celeste P11, with Sam Van Olst your prime leader P16 ahead of Alex Meredith P18, and Reese, well not Reese, what Alan McCain P19. That's your top 3 of the prime class. But as our drivers make the way on through and under the bridge once again, and we do seem to have got 13 laps here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite sure how we've ended up with 3 extra laps of racing, but still our drivers are now going to have to go the extra distance, which is going to be a surprise unless there's a glitch on our overlay there at the top and centre of your screen. We'll keep you updated on that, but it's going to be a much longer race here, and as our drivers make the way on through, well, that is definitely only going to cause our drivers' stamina to wane a bit further, particularly given how hard the racing normally is. Where comes Paul Senatacci on the inside of Sam Van Olst, 4P16, the pro battling on the inside of the prime, and meanwhile behind, here comes Alex Meredith. And Meredith, as they make their way in towards the braking zone for turn, what is there, I do believe, turn number 9, heading onto the brakes. And well, now it's going to be Van Olst who defends hard, and as he does so, left into right here, where it's going to be Van Olst still on numbers. Zanatacci now coming back, it's the better run out of the chicane. Meredith meanwhile sits behind, tries to hedge his bets behind one driver, but Zanatacci immediately on the offensive. Meredith looking on through, 3 wide just behind there, as that's going to be Reese Watt holding to the inside versus Alan McCain. And well, as they come out to the corner, Reese Watt gets the job done to move into P19, and Lee Horn a little bit further back there, deciding to back out on the outside line, not feeling comfortable making it 3 wide through Melbourne. But meanwhile now it's going to be McCain on the inside here, a bit of a lock up there for Sam Van Olst, and it's going to be Alan McCain who tries to gain here, as meanwhile Alex Meredith goes on through to take the lead of the prime. Oh my goodness, and that's Reese Watt being turned across the front of one of his rivals. Not quite sure who made the initial contact, but I can tell you with all of that, Reese Watt now losing out. Meanwhile, Alex Meredith here keeping McCain behind as Isaac Doble moves into P4, gets ahead of Sam Van Olst, and Van Olst losing out massively as they roar their way on down the hill. 3 wide as they make their way through the crane of curves. Surely not, as they come on down, and someone's going to back out as Isaac Doble lifts off the throttle. Van Olst goes sideways. Paul Scott, meanwhile, getting his elbows out and takes 2 places for the price of 1 set of crane of curves. And well, Paul Scott absolutely feral there in making the move, but sometimes you've got to be brave to get it done. But I think there it was a case whereby Sam Van Olst not too pleased with that, as Isaac Doble looks up the inside. No pressure on him now, he can just go all in here and go full attack for the remainder of the racing. But as they make the way up the rise and in towards what will be at turn number 8 into Coppice Corner, well, from them Sam Smith a little bit further back, also trying to get involved here versus William Guthrie, and the batting in the prime class right now for the top 5, if not the win of the prime class, could not be closer. It's almost as if they've all started to find the pace. Now the championship has been decided at the very very top. They've all just decided, right, we're going to put our hair down now and go all for it. And as they roll their way on through the S's, line astern they go. Well, Jay Calais here looking for a potential move on Smith, trying to outdrag his rivals. They make their way towards the braking zone. It's going to be Calais here, who we ride on board with Smith on the left of your picture, albeit now hidden off camera. And Calais all the way in there. Smith still on the outside, as Calais has to do a bit of wheel spin as he gets the power down. As he makes way out the ride, you're going to very shortly see on the left-hand side of your picture what will be Smith making his way back in. But in fact, we'll go to the exterior cameras here. And as they make the way on through Gollards, well, Smith comes from back then. Calais cannot make the move stick as they make the way onto lap number 4. But as they do, meanwhile, you can see that Isaac Doble and Stanford Ols, it's going to be Doble getting ahead of Van Ols around the outside here into Redgate corner and coming on to the braking zone. Well, Van Ols looking on the inside, trying to get his nose back in. Doble gives him the space to do so, and in the end, now they make their way down. It was 3 wide last time. This time it's going to be 2 wide at most, but then Isaac Doble does clear his rival and takes the position firmly and cleanly. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Daniel Downing on a charge here, albeit Luke Jones saying, no you don't. And as a result, Downing having to lift off there. The understeer creeping, almost sending the car to the grass coming down through turn number 3. And as they make their way out the old hairpin, you see Downing flashing his lights. He's not too pleased with Jones getting his elbows out there. I think Jones feels like he had the right to make sure he held onto the position, and Downing continued on his recovery drive as they make their way in towards McLean's. Well, as they come through, meanwhile, it's gone very, very wrong for where's Isaac Doble, who rejoins there. Coming out of McLean's, and well, I think there might have been a bit of contact with another rival. I'm not 100% sure, but we are sure is that Daniel Downing just found his way past Luke Jones coming through Coppitt's corner, and now his next target will be one of his major rivals this season as he makes his way down the back straight as he charges on through. Meanwhile, we've not been talking about the front of the field for some time, and here is the aforementioned front of the field. It's Wayne Douglas who continues to lead as meanwhile Higgins Jr. and Jamie Dory battle side by side in the run up towards the Gollards hairpin, but Douglas right now just simply keeping the cars all line astern as they make their way through the left-hander and onwards towards turn of 1. They go once again onto lap 5, and as they do, a question from Ian Crosby in the Facebook chat, which is 13 laps on 10 laps of fuel. Well, I do believe the fuel loads may have been adjusted for these 13 laps from what I'm hearing down in the pit lane as they make their way down in towards turn number 1. Right now, Douglas here still holding on to lead, but it definitely seems though the pace of this race is forming into with Doble and Swirydowicz literally P2, P3 and nose to tail. Neither driver wants to take the risk right now ahead of the next gen pink driver, because otherwise it will give the opportunity for the other championship rival to take the place off of them. So therefore they're just biding their time and taking their time in terms of knowing when to attack, and I imagine this will come down to the last couple of laps, and also on top of that whether there's any mistakes from Douglas in the interim as he defends into McLean's corner. Through the right hand they go, and well, here comes Mikey Doble. He gets the cutback. Douglas is going to defend it, squeezing him to the inside, but it's not going to be any second chances here as Mikey Doble makes the move. Meanwhile, Swirydowicz comes on through as well, and the two championship rivals carrying the momentum down. It's going to be a rivalry that runs all the way down towards the S's now, as it's going to be Doble on the right of your picture, Swirydowicz on the left, and Doble defending here, but Swirydowicz knowing if he can get the momentum out of the chicane, he'll have the run down towards Melbourne as they power the way out and up towards turn number 9, well, in fact turn at number 11 here. Onto the brakes they go, and Swirydowicz now having to go defensive under braking as meanwhile Higgins Jr. tries to get in amongst the battling here, and in fact goes cleanly up the inside of Wayne Douglas, but Douglas in turn now sticking himself to the inside of what will be Gollards as they make their way into the next braking zone. Both drivers here fighting for the space, neither one wants to back out, and as they come through the left-hander, it's going to be Douglas who in the end does stick a fork in the proverbial battle, and well, with that Jamie Dory decides to cut back. He makes his way past Higgins Jr. and he's going to out-drag his teammate Douglas. They made it onto lap number 6, and the next gen pink driver onto the brakes here moves up to P3, and a very calculated move. Meanwhile, further back, Benjamin McCluskey losing out versus Nick Clemens in the run towards Redgate corner. I wonder if there might have been a lift off there, perhaps for some track limits, but as they make the way out of the right-hander, you can definitely see there McCluskey down to P12, but from then we look back to your prime lead battle, and this is Alex Meredith versus Alan McCain as they come down through turns 2 and 3, coming down through the crane of curves, and as they do, well, this battle right now is a bit of a stalemate, but what's not in a stalemate is 2 wide in between Sam Smith and Jay Calais. Smith there on the inside of turn 3, Calais on the outside, he'll get the inside into the old hairpin, will Calais, well, the privateer having to back off, they're not carrying the momentum through, and Smith just about getting the job done as Isaac Doble tucks him behind, but brilliant racing between the trio as they head up the hill, and as they do, I've had a bit more confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to the 13 laps 3 laps were added on due to the fact the first race was a little bit short-changed in terms of the 20-minute time expected, and therefore 3 laps have been added on. The fuel loads have been adjusted, so therefore our drivers will not need to do fuel saving or need to potentially worry about coming into the pits. We do have 13 laps of race, and I believe it will continue to be 13 laps when we go into race number 3. So apologies for the confusion there as our drivers make the way now down towards what is turns 9 and 10 once again, and as they come down into the braking zone here, Smith doing very well to keep Clay and Isaac Doble behind, but gets it wrong there as he comes out of 10, mounts the apex curve, and as he rejoins from the grass, heading in towards turn number 11 right now. Clay's going to sneak up the inside. Isaac Doble not close enough, nor is Daniel Downing, but meanwhile we've had a bit more drama up the road, and this is Mikey Doble pointing in the wrong direction at Goddard's, and this could be championship defining right now as he rejoins. He's all the way down as he rejoins zone P19, and the damage continues to spiral down the order. Now what exactly has happened here is the big question. Well, we have an immediate replay to explain the story, and this was battling with Wojciech Swirydowicz in to the hairpin. They went too wide, and in the end Doble crossed the front of Swirydowicz, and that was for the lead of this race. And well, definitely that's going to be one of the most controversial moments of this season between the two championship rivals here, and well, one has come out on top of the other as a result of it, but it's perhaps not the way they expected it to go as we take another look back at that battle, and we look from one of our other cameras here, ladies and gentlemen, and well, absolutely fighting tooth and nail to that apex. I think neither driver wanted to give in the end, and well, you're welcome to give your opinion on that battle and indeed what happened there. Keep it still on the chat, of course. I know things can get fiery when it is a championship decider. As we return to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, we do look to what is your leader, Jamie Dory, as they make the way down the back straight with Wojciech Swirydowicz behind, and then Wayne Douglas in P3. But Mikey Doble, I can tell you, has had to be, I believe, retired from the race due to the damage picked up in the car, and I think his focus might be on what will be our final race today. In fact, no, he's not been retired. My apologies, that's a glitch in our timing tower. He's down in P20 right now, but now knowing he's got to try and recover as many places as possible as the drivers make the way out to Melbourne. But as they do, we do look to what is Daniel Martin versus Dan Mould, and heading up towards the braking zone here, and now you can see that Jose Doble absolutely trying to be as stubborn as possible, defending hard, and Daniel Martin squeezes up the inside of Mould as they make the way out of the final corner until lap number 8 they go. They've got plenty more laps of racing to go here as they make the way onwards towards what will be at lap number 8 and in towards Redgate corner, and Martin not giving in here versus Mould as they come through turn number 1. Keeping in mind, of course, that Dan Mould has got the maximum success balance in the car. Martin a little bit less by comparison, but still both drivers way down here, and as they make the way through the crane of curves, well, Martin's going to be squeezed the apex of 2. Has all the room into turn number 3, and in the Honda not giving in here as Mould now cuts back. Brilliant racing there from Martin, and as a result making the move. Can't respect been shown between both drivers as they come up through the left-handers and on towards turns at 7 and 8 they go. But as they do, well, right now this is only going to cause the top 10 field to split, but Daniel Martin's not going to mind that given the fact he has got a whole plethora of drivers behind him. As then Mould looks around the outside, a little bit of squeeze, but as they come up the rise into Coppice, well, meanwhile here comes Andrew Pike. Pike trying to look up the inside, the RAC Sports driver into the Peugeot Tribute livery, the Ultron machine making its way around here, and well, he may just have the momentum versus Mould as they make their way towards the braking zone for the S's. It's going to be too wide here as they head on down, and as they do, well, Mould's going to get ahead under braking, but Pike knows if he can get the momentum out the corner, he'll have the run down towards Melbourne, as meanwhile too wide between Clibbins and what is Delmont there, as they both show you can go too wide through the S's if you get it right, and behind them Luciano Vitford and Benjamin McCluskey, you just watch it on as Clibbins still fights into the inside of what will be the turn 11 hairpin. Out he comes, and as he does so, well, there it's going to be Delmont who's almost run a bit wide, albeit now Vitford tries to get involved as they head in towards the next hairpin, and in front of him you can see Pike there having to back out after battling so hard with Dan Mould for the best part of half a lap. But meanwhile Delmont back up the inside of Clibbins on through the hairpin, and on towards lap number 9 they go, and well, Delmont now will try and confirm the position into Redgate corners. Meanwhile Vitford will look for the move around the outside of Clibbins in towards the aforementioned right-hander. Well, as they do, they go line astern, and Delmont finally finds the position of P9. But coming from them back to Alex Meredith, your prime leader here for RD Simsport. Well, right now making his way on through turn number 1 and down through turns 2 and 3 he goes. And as he does so, through the right into left here, will meanwhile Jasper Sabula just tucked in behind Martin Shirley, and keeping in mind that Sabula right now, well, his championship contention hopes are fading, albeit he'll still want to get some points for Semper Racing, the team championship, as they make their way on through the double left and up towards the right hander of McLean's. Well, the Semper Racing driver now all over the back of the RD Simsport driver, and these two have been season-long rivals, no doubt about it. And Lee Horn, meanwhile, just been passed there by Mikey Doble into McLean's, and as they make the way out towards Coppice corner, Doble already on the charge, already back up to P18. His next target to be the primes of McCain and Meredith, and I think he'll be feeling confident he can get P16 before this race is done. Again, the fact the distance has been lengthened in compensation for not as many laps in what was the first race of the day as was expected. Therefore, Doe will be given a lifeline, an unexpected one at that. Indeed, plenty of unexpected events so far. Speaking of which, Wojciech Swirydowicz looking up the inside, Jamie Dory there into Melbourne. It's going to be a drag race here for the overall lead. Dory on the inside, Swirydowicz on the outside into Goddard's, and as they come on down and around, Wayne Douglas just watching on from behind, but Dory is going to take the lead back as they make the way into lap number 10. 4 more laps of racing to go in race number 2, our penultimate race of the season. And as they power their way in towards Redgate Corner, we ride on board with Dory here, Swirydowicz on his inside, and all the gloves are coming off between these two as they make the way on around. Through the opening corner they go, and downhill now it's going to be absolutely tooth and nail as they roar their way through the crane of curves. Neither driver is going to back out here. Now this is going to be a test of who's the braver driver. And I think Dory getting ahead there, and Swirydowicz recognising he's got a championship he doesn't want to throw away as they make the way for the old hairpin. Meanwhile, Dory, well, he needs major results all the way through for his rivals to lose out in order to sneak the championship away from everybody else. But the NXTGEN pink driver showing why he is a 2-time champion. There's no doubt about it in the 13 as he stays ahead for the time being through McLean's he goes, and as he does so, Swirydowicz, Douglas, Higgins, Judah, the top 4 all still together with Joseph Doe and Daniel Martin just behind. But from them, meanwhile, Joseph Svila up the inside, Martin Shirley into McLean's, and this is for P14, and Svila getting it done, but having to go immediately defensive as they make their way towards Coppins Corner, knowing the potential counter-attack from Shirley. That Honda so quick through the corners compared to the Veloster. A little bit of love tap between the two of them there. Shirley sent to the grass as a result, and I think there might have just been a twitch on Sevilla's car that's led to the contact, and Shirley won't be too pleased about that as McCain's going to get on through. Meanwhile, it should be pointed out that with everything that's playing out, Alan McCain has got ahead of Alex Meredith for the lead of the prime class. How on earth that has happened, I hear you ask? Well, we'll find out very shortly, as meanwhile we stay focused here for a brief moment on Shirley versus Meredith. Meredith looking up the inside and open his teammate Gibson the space here, as Alex Meredith right now will launch the chase after Alan McCain, who in turn has got Mikey Doble looking up the inside of him on the exit coming out of Melbourne. You can't make this story up right now, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that everyone absolutely battling hard, fast and furious, and well, Alex Meredith doing everything he can right now to chase down the win off of McCain, but it may not be enough here as they make the way on to lap number 11. And as they do, we get a quick replay of what exactly happened between Alan McCain and Alex Meredith. Well, this was in the run down towards what was Melbourne, and McCain on the inside, Meredith on the outside, onto the brakes the Elantra drivers went. Mikey Doble at the inside there, sneaking his way on through, and well, that explains it in the end. Meredith perhaps being a little bit more compliant than needed versus McCain, and then in the end ended up in a battle between himself and Mikey Doble as they made the way in to the Goddard's hairpin, and was they rolled off into the apex. That's where Meredith was able to stay ahead, but that's where the position change occurred. And as we return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we've still got more laps of this race to go. It's not over yet, but as they make the way on the rise in the live pictures, we look back to Joseph Doble versus Daniel Martin, and these two roaring the way on around through the right-hander of Coppice and down towards the S's they go. And the RD Student Sport driver here defending on the inside. Will Joseph Doble back out, or will he force Martin to have to defend it all the way? It's going to be the latter as they go too wide into the corner, but Joseph Doble backing out at the last moment there just to take away some of the steam. Meanwhile, there's a bit of contact there between Bitford and Wes Adam Delman as the two of them don't want to budge, and as they make the way on through, Paul Zanatachi comes on through, roaring his button. Oh my goodness, and his contacts, he's turned across the front there on what I believe was Benjamin McCluskey's car. Meanwhile, coming roaring in, it's Joseph Sabula. He sees it like this blood in the water for a shark, and the Semper Racing driver absolutely going brazenly on the brakes, somehow gets it stopped in time. That's incredible as he makes 2 places there versus Delman Zanatachi. It's going to be 3 wide, and Wes Goddard's hairpin, he's able to survive a little bit of contact there and just about makes it into P12 in the end. As they make their way down the start-finish straight across the line here, going on to what is the penultimate lap, and as they roar on through, meanwhile Mikey Doble flashing his lights earlier, I think saying to the drivers in front of him, look, I'm coming through whether you like it or not, now to P14 as he goes up the inside of Zanatachi. Meanwhile, as they come down through the crane of curves, from them we do look back up to Wojciech Swirydowicz, who right now holding on to P2. The Semper Racing driver chasing after Jamie Dory here for the lead of this race, and right now, of course, there will be a little bit of a cloud hanging over him with regards to the contact between himself and Mikey Doble, whether that goes to the stewards or not, but as a championship contender, you can't think about that. All you can think about here, right here and now, is the racing you can do and the points you can accrue, and then whatever happens afterwards in terms of the penalties, you just have to see what happens after the race, and it's out of your hands. But as number 80 driver makes his way down the back straight, chasing after Dory, he'll be happier with a P2, but he'll be happier with the win, there's no doubt about it. Meanwhile, we'll look to Alan McCain here, your prime leader, with Alex Meredith only half a second behind, and he's tucked into the toe of Paul Zenatachi as they make the way in the hunt for P15 down towards the S's. And going in towards the braking zone, it's going to be a long line of cars all roaring the way down. In fact, here we can see, well, there's a very seriously damaged car in the form of Sam Van Holst's Audi RS3, and that's just in the foreground ahead of Sam Smith, as meanwhile Paul Scott and Gavin Gardner have been fighting, and now here comes Daniel Downing looking up the inside of Paul Scott in what is the big long battle for P4 in the prime class, as led by Isaac Doe at the head of this bag. But here comes Downing looking up the inside, getting it stopped just in time on a dime, and as they make the way out to the right hand, and meanwhile Harley Bicknell making his way on the inside as well, looking to try and gain a couple more places before all is said and done. But Scott and Bicknell right now battling in towards the Goddard's hairpin, and as they come for a left-hander, Scott positions himself nicely on the inside here. Bicknell just behind, looking for a move, can't quite find it, and Luke Jones also trying to get into the mix with his JW Motorsport teammate as they make the way onto the white flag lap. It's lap 13 of 13, one more lap to be turned in race number 2, and as our drivers roar their way on through. Well, right now things have definitely got a lot more serious compared to race number 1, if that can be said in the season finale. But from these drivers, we do look back to a race leader of Dory, with these two being separated by only half a second, and they've got a 1.5 second gap to Wayne Douglas. It is the fight between them for the win, but it is going the way of Dory, it would seem. Meanwhile, further back, Benjamin McCluskey on the inside of Joseph Doble into the McLean's corner, and with that it's going to be Vitfu who gets on through as he moves up to P9, chasing after McCluskey now for P8 potentially, as meanwhile the places fall more and more for Joseph Doble, as through have gone Nick Clemens, Joseph Spiller and Mikey Doble. And Mikey Doble out to P12, he's guaranteed to be inside the reverse grid. He'll be hoping now it's a small reverse grid for the final race of the day to completely flip things on its head. As they make their way down to the braking zone, you can't count on anything in the NXTCC as they roar the way from the left into right here. And Sabula now being pushed by Doble all the way. You see defending, and Sabula knows he's got to defend for his teammate in that battle for the championship. But meanwhile, we look to the front of the field, ladies and gentlemen, for as they make their way down through the final corner. Dory's trying to hold on here with Swirydowicz right behind, but in the end it is going to go the way of the next gen pink driver, and Jamie Dory comes on through to take the checker flag in race number 2, ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz, Wayne Douglas P3 ahead of John Higgins Jr., Daniel Martin P5 there ahead of Dan Mould, with Andrew Pike P7, Benjamin McCluskey P8 ahead of Vitford and Clemens to complete the top 10, Mikey Doble finishes P11 ahead of Jasper Sabula, and then it is Joseph Doble P13, Adam Delton P14, and Race winning the prime class in his first class win of the season for iRacing Esports. It's Alan McCain with P15 overall, so an overall point as well as what is the class win, ahead of Alex Meredith P16 and second place in the prime class, and then Lee Horn, Martin Shelley, William Guthrie and Jay Calais makes a return to the Pro-Am podium, P3 in class, P20 overall, ahead of Russell Fowler and Paul Zenatachi. Well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what an end to the race, no doubt about it. We've still got some drives to come to the finish line, including Matthew Addy for next gen with Sam Case, is P37, and Craig Tillerston will be your final finisher here, P38 out on circuit, as he crossed the line there for FR20 Sim Racing. You may be wondering, how exactly did Mikey Doble get ahead of Jasper Sabila right at the end? We cut away from it, but we cut immediately back to it, and this is how it ended between us. They made the way out of Melbourne in towards Goddard's. Doble on the inside there, and literally getting his nose stuck in and getting the elbows out, and Sabila in the end recognising the only way it was going to end was either in tears or Doble taking the place, and the Doble Sim Racing driver doing exactly that as he crossed the finish line. Well, as we return to live pictures, it's definitely been a contentious race number 2, but at the same time, Jamie Dory right now, I think we're feeling proud that for next gen pink, there's some major points on the board for the team, and also some great points for himself as he makes his way up towards turn number 12 to come into the pit lane. And well, for Swirydowicz, a P2 in the end, not quite the win, but still a key result that could be the difference come the final checker flag after race number 3, and Wayne Douglas completing that podium for a next gen pink 1-3, and as they all make the way on him. Meanwhile, Alan McCain again to retake his first prime win of the season, and what a late stage for it to come in, but still a huge achievement, as it is a traffic jam there into the pits. I think everybody absolutely trying to get the way in as quickly as possible to get out of the cars and take a breather before we go racing one final time today. And well, as they all make their way into the pits, so much traffic, in fact it does seem as though they're all having to come to a standstill. Well, the races may come to a standstill, but we've got race results to go through, and here they are, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, Jamie Dory in the end taking the win for Next Gen Pink by 2.5 attempts over Semper Racing's Wojciech Swirydowicz. Wayne Douglas completing at the podium there for Next Gen Pink, and in the end 1-3 for the team, with the Semper Racing filling in the middle. Behind at MP4, John Higgins Jr. ahead of Daniel Martin for RD Simsport, and then Dan Mole P6 there for SRL Next Gen, battling against the weight but doing well to gain 6 places over the course of the race. And then Andrew Pike for iRacing Esports P7 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, with the Next Gen Pink drive being followed up by Brabham Esports' Luciano Vitford and Nick Clemens from iRacing Esports to complete the top 10. Mikey Doble, best of P11 after recovering from P20 at the midpoint of the race after that contact between himself and Wojciech Swirydowicz. And while the Double Sim Racing driver at 9 now, he needs the reverse grid to go his way to have a major opportunity to secure a win, which could tip the scales back in his favour. And we'll talk more about that shortly with the final reverse grid draw of the season. Jans Sabila P12 there for Semper Racing. And what was definitely a tooth-and-nail battle and doing everything he could for the team, being passed by a number of drivers, but also knowing there's still one more race to come. And then Joe Zadoble, Adam Delman and Alan McCain completing your top 15. But it's a special P15 for Alan McCain because it is one of his first overall points of the championship season, but also for the iRacing Esports driver, it is going to be his first Prime Class win for the season, ahead of rival Alex Meredith, P2 in class there for RD Simsport. And then to wrap up the top 20, it was Lee Horn ahead of Martin Shirley, with then William Guthrie and Jay Calais, third place in Prime, P20 overall, the privateer completing the Prime podium of McCain, Meredith and himself. Russell Fowler, P21, ahead of Paul Zanatachi, with the Affinity driver definitely having a difficult second race of the day. Then Doble Sim Racing's Isaac Doble, fourth place in the Prime class, where he's already wrapped up the championship and continues pumping those top 5 finishes in class. And as Sam Van Olsen Goldwing Motorsport, who wasn't able to make it, 2 Prime wins out of 2. Gavin Garner, P25 for Next Gen Pink, ahead of Sam Smith for Iris Esports, with Daniel Dan in P27, Paul Scott P28, then wrapping up the top 30, Harley Bicknell and Matthew Cheverton, with the Aztec Racing driver there picking up a P10 in the Prime class, just ahead of Luke Jones' rival. And then Goldwyn Motorsports' Duncan Ryan's P32 have not made it onto the grid for race 1, but starting from the back for race number 2 and gaining what's the best part of 8 places. Mark Kemp P33 ahead of Jonathan Collins, Reese Watt P35, and then Mark Sykes P36 and Matthew Addy. Craig Tiddleston fighting to a P38 finish for FR20 Sim Racing. And then last but not least, having retired after only 5 laps of racing at James Mazescal for Aztec Racing, and as he did not complete over half the race distance, he will be classified as a non-finisher. So that concludes our second race of the day, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got one more race to come. Would you believe it? The final race is just around the corner. And with that, well, it is only appropriate that we do need to, of course, do our final reverse grid draw of the season. Good evening to you once again from the commentary booth. And, well, it makes me sad to do the final reverse grid draw, but, of course, all good things must come to an end for the season. Here's the lottery bowl. This time we're going to take 2 balls out of the bowl. And without further ado, let's close our eyes and get to it. So that's the initial shuffle, and now we'll draw our first ball out of the bowl. And it is going to be the number 10. So it is going to be a sizable reverse grid for our season finale race. And what will be added to the number 10? Let's see. There's the shuffle, and we do the draw. And it is going to be the number 7. So it means it is a top 17 reverse grid in the end as we try to get the numbers in the right orientation. And that means Lee Horn will be taking your final pole position on the grid for the season finale, the final race 30 of 30, and he'll be joined on the front row by Alex Meredith for RD Simsport. He'll be your prime pole sitter, who has just behind him Alan McCain starting P3. Well, there's going to be sparks in the prime class, there's going to be plenty of sparks in the overall championship. It's all that and more coming up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a brief breather, but not without a word from our title sponsor, IMB Racewear, and we will be back in approximately 5 to 6 minutes time for the final race of season 5 of the NXTCC. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the finale, the final race of the season, race 30 of 30 and race 3 of 3 here today in round 10 of season 5 of the NXTCC, powered by IMB Racewear and brought to you on iRacing here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. And as all the drivers get themselves set and ready to go one final time, we've only got 2.5 minutes before we go racing once again, and let's give you a quick update on how those standings sit now with one race left. Remember, all this is provisional, subject to stewards' inquiries after the races today, but starting with the overall Drivers' Championship. And as we can see, after the instant between Wojciech Swirydowicz and Mikey Doble in race 2, Swirydowicz now holds a 27-point advantage over Mikey Doble. It is going to require a sensational swing in order for the championship to come back to Doble, but still, you can never count anything out, particularly when you've got a top 17 at reverse grid, and Daniel Martin sits 79 points behind there and looks to be on course potentially to take P3, but keep your eyes on Jamie Dory, who's only 4 points off of him. We then come onto the Prime class, and here we can see it is Isaac Doble, confirmed champion, and in the fight for second place, Matthew Addy and Daniel Downing, both having difficult days of racing, stand only separated by 5 points between them, with Sam Vidal's closing and Alan McCann only 3 points behind him. And in the Teams Championship, NXTGEN Paint hold a 180-point advantage at the top over Doble Sim Racing, with Semper Racing any further, what is there, 79 points behind. It looks like NXTGEN Pink could have this, but then again, if a surprise were to be sprung in this final race, it could go the way of Doble Sim Racing or Semper Racing. There's plenty of points to be gathered, and also keep in mind SRL NXTGEN are now inching ahead in P4, and are looking to seal it versus Brabham Esports, Performance Link Esports and Affinity. So that's how everything stands. We now head into our final race. We are only a minute away on the clock, and as we sit here and wait to go racing at one more time, we say hello to a good number of you in the chat who recently interacted, including Matt Parks in the Facebook chat, who enjoyed the recovery drive from Mikey Doble in what was race number 2. And congratulations Jamie Dory on his win. Handsome Stu there saying with regards to what was the fact that Isaac Doble, only 14 years old, as clarified by Mike Doble in the YouTube chat, and I do believe that may be father Michael Doble looking over all his sons as they go racing in the YouTube chat. And Handsome Stu also saying 2 good races and let's have a decent third too. And indeed, that's the spirit, Handsome Stu. We also say hello to Pages and Plants there, and John Higgins Senior there saying yes Lee and Lee Horn, and don't let the old boys down. But as our drivers get set, and well, as they're all looking at ready to go, well, as the drivers roll them down there, Andrew Pike, I think, corrected us there. 14 years old, not 14 hours old, is Isaac Doble. I apologise there if I've mispronounced my lexicon, but as our drivers get set, well, the checker flag is out. It's time for race 3 of 3. Here's the season finale, ladies and gentlemen, and who will be our final race winners overall and in the Prime class? Let's find out. So our drivers make it to the grid for the final time. Here's how they line up. It is Lee Horn who takes pole position for NXTGEN with Sam Case, is joined on the front row by Alex Meredith for RD Simsport. Behind the pro and pole sit-up, we have the pair of Alan McCain and Adam Delmont, with Joe Zadoa and Jazz Sevilla line up on row number 3. Row 4 goes to Mikey Doble and Nick Clemens, with Luciano Vitford and Benjamin McCluskey completing your top 10. And it'll be Andrew Pike who starts P11 ahead of Dan Mould, with a pairing of what is Daniel Martin and John Higgins Jr. on row 7. Row 8 goes to Wayne Douglas and Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Jamie Dory and Martin Shirley behind, and then your top 20 completed by Jay Clay and Russell Fowler. On row number 11, it's Paul Zenatachi and Isaac Doble, followed up by Sam Van Olst and Gavin Gardner. And then we have on row number 13, Sam Smith and Daniel Downing, with Paul Scott and Harley Bicknell following up, and Matthew Sheraton and Luke Jones completing your top 30. Duncan Rice starts P31 ahead of Mark Kent, with Jonathan Collins and Reese Watt on row 17. Row 18 goes to Mark Sykes and Matthew Addy, and then we do have on the final complete row of the grid, Craig Tillerston. But the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen, the lights are going on. It's time for race number 3, and there's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And the final race of the season is underway. Lee Horn gets a good start on pole, but can he hold on to lead into red gate corners? Alex Meredith immediately goes on the offensive behind, as they charge away down 13 laps of racing between our drivers and Destiny, and as they all come roaring on through. Well, further down the order, you can already see a bit of weave from side to side from a number of drivers, including Andrew Pike, as many run wide. They're coming out red gate corner, but as they charge away on down, we look to the blimp camera here. You can see it's practically 3-4 wide as they go through the crane of curves, and that's Pike who's absolutely storming his way through around the outside of Nick Clemens and Benjamin McCluskey. Onto the brakes they go, and that's your top 20 as they roll on through. And right now, Andrew Pike absolutely causing the whole field to come together as it's all goodness me. Car turns sideways just by, has been rideable with Andrew Pike for a brief moment, and it's gone very, very wrong there further back as they make the way up into McLean's corner for the first time of asking. We're going to have to take a look back at what exactly has happened there. But with all that, well, I believe Isaac Doble involved in that instant. Well, they make the way through. We have got multiple drivers wide as well coming up through McLean's. I do believe there might be one of a safety car on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen, as they make the way on through at the right hander of Coppice and down towards the S's. But as they charge the way down in towards the braking zone here, well, meanwhile, talking about gains, Mikey Doble already moving up into P4 for Doble Sim Racing, and will Wojciech Swirydowicz down in P13, and number 88 driver here will coming down towards the braking zone 9. He's got more places to gain. The win is only going to be good enough, and then everything else needs to be left out of his hands. Looks up the inside there of Adam Delman, who gives the space, and Joseph Doble comes on through. I think Delman's got an issue with the car, going very slowly. Was he involved in some of the early contact? Well, something's definitely upset the car as they make the way up towards the Goddard's hairpin, whereas they do go very slowly indeed and falling down the order. Nick Clemens, meanwhile, battling side by side with Daniel Martin as they come on towards the end of the first lap. No safety car in sight, though, ladies and gentlemen, so I think we're just carrying on with the race there. And apologies for the confusion, but as they make the way in towards turn number 1, well, Nick Clemens right now side by side here with none other than what is Daniel Martin. And as they come through Redgate corner, well, Clemens bouncing off the apex curve there, dipping the rear right tyre into what is the third, and as he makes his way up through, well, it is going to be Daniel Martin who takes the place off of him as they roll through the crater curves and into the old hairpin. But as they make the way on through, your top 10 is as follows after 1.5 laps. It is Lee Horn who leads ahead of prime leader Alex Meredith P2, Mikey Doble P3, Joseph Doble P4, Luciano Vinfort P5, ahead of Jasper Sabula P6, Alan McCain P7, your second place prime driver Andrew Pike P8, Daniel Martin P9, Nick Clemens P10, and Wojciech Swirydowicz best the rest P11 here as he makes his way on through McLean's and up towards Coppice corner. But as they come in towards the right hander, the big question, of course, is what exactly happened at the start of the race. Well, here is a replay which I think explains some of the story. And this was Isaac Doble. We focus on the incident already occurring, in fact, and there was a shunt to the rear of Isaac Doble, which led to him to take to the escape run off there on the exit curb of what was the run out of Starkeys. But that was not the incident itself. The incident, in fact, I think involved Martin Shirley, and here it is, Shirley making his way up towards the corner, and will Benjamin McCluskey being turned across the front there, Wayne Douglas, and Shirley having to take evasive action. Jamie Dory also caught up in the medley, and well, we take another look back, and this was Adam Delmont we now focus on for a brief moment, albeit I think really we need to be looking at Wayne Douglas a bit further back, and this might explain it as they made the way up the rise. And as they did, Wayne Douglas being tapped there by what was Jamie Dory, and then being sent back on his way in contact with what was, I do believe, Benjamin McCluskey. So NXTGEN Peak, in fact, 3 of the drivers all coming together, and it ended in disaster for the team, and that could have repercussions in what will be the championship and the team championship come the end of the race as we return to your live racing pictures. But as they make the way on through and around, ladies and gentlemen, we're on to lap number 3, and well, right now the racing continues to stay close as we look to Joseph Doble here holding on to third place ahead of Lee Horn. Horn losing the lead in this race. In fact, there's been some sort of instant for Lee Horn because Alex Meredith now holds on to the lead ahead of Mikey Doble. We're not quite sure what's happened there. There's been some sort of move, I would say, down into the hairpins on the previous lap, which we missed due to being on the replay. But here comes Alex Meredith then, prime leader, and right now not just trying to make it a prime win, but also what will be his first overall win, albeit he's got a lot of pressure behind because Mikey Doble's not going to want him to win. Right now, the only driver who will want that win more than anybody else, you could argue, is the Doble Sim Racing driver, because he knows he needs it in order to take that championship back, particularly with Wojciech Swirydowicz currently being in P16 as our time and tower updates itself. And as they make the way down, well, here comes Doble, can't quite find it. Meredith right now just steering clear, but losing the rear end of the car comes loose, and that is going to release Mikey Doble into lead this race. Joseph Doble comes on through as well. Meredith now starts to fall down the order like a stone, and speaking of which, here comes Alan McCain looking for a potential move on Meredith. He can't quite find it, and in fact has to tuck him behind. But in a very quick turn of events, it means that Alex Meredith still leads the prime class, but now sits P6, and with it, Alan McCain is right behind him in the battle. And we can see already Meredith trying to go on the offensive versus Sabula into Goddard's, and as they come through a left-hander, well, Sabula's going to be elbowed out, and now McCain's going to try and get into the mix as well. As we got the front of the field, Mikey Doble just tries to run away with it all. But as they make the way in towards Redgate onto lap number 4, meanwhile, Luciano Vitford on the inside of Lee Horn as they come up for the opening right-hander, rear end of the car, let's go, and the Brabham Esports drive pushing too hard. As a result, makes there, and that's going to put him to the back of this top 10 battle. With Nick Clemens sneaking on through there, Vitford down to P10. But from there, we look to Mould versus Douglas here. And Mould going slowly off the opening corner, and that's going to release. Well, no, it's not Mould going slowly, it's Douglas going slowly. That's going to release Mould. As meanwhile, side by side there between Daniel Dowd and Wayne Douglas. And Douglas right now being pinballed around as Daniel Dowd tries to find his way through. He wants to go hunting after further places. In the fact that right now he's got Sam Van Olsen P3 in the class, his teammate, and then it's Downing. And right now Isaac Doe was only 1.2 seconds wide. I think Downing's feeling confident he can perhaps get an overall top 15 before it's said and done. As they make the way on through, Duncan Moraes here also continues to go on the hunt. As you can see, just in front of him, Matthew Sheraton in quite a heavily crumpled Audi RS3. And the Aztec racing car right now looking vulnerable up into Coppice corner. Murray's looking up the inside, the South African driver here trying to leverage the stronger brakes, the Honda, but in the end, all Sheraton just simply says no you don't and outblast him on the throttle pedal. But as they make the way down the back straight here, well, right now you can see the loss of the front end aero definitely hurting Sheraton and not enabling him to pull away in the Audi that on paper should be able to outrun the Honda. But as they roll the way through the chicane, Murray's close. Can he look for the move here as we ride on board with the 33 driver? We're in the toe, but he's going to come from a long way back if he wants to make this move, and it's not going to work from that far back. And in the end, Sheraton able to take his line, and Murray's just simply tucking him behind as they make the way in towards Goddard. So we can see how close he gets with 3 attempts as they make the way in to the final braking zone for this tour of the circuit. And as they come on in, well, right now Murray's looking to try and really cut back into the apex, but Sheraton gets the better run off the corner, and the gap opens up to half a second. As they head down towards turn at number 1. Meanwhile, looking further back, we have got a bit of an incident between Wayne Douglas. In fact, goodness me, what exactly has happened to Wayne Douglas? He's been turned to the barrier, smoke coming out the car as well. I think that might be a total of pits because that is a car not in a good state of condition. But meanwhile, Craig Tillerstone battling here with Reece Watt, and right now the FR20 sim racing driver will go around the outside, and this is going to bring Collins into the mix. Well, Collins can't seem to find his way through in the battle for his P14 in the Pro class. Some key points for both drivers here as they make the way on down through turn number 3, and into the old hairpin they go. But around the outside goes Collins, and he's going to make the move count there as Tillerstone just not quite able to outrun Collins onto the brakes. But as they make the way on through, I think Collins now just able to start to creep away. But from then we have had the incident between Wayne Douglas and Jay Calais, from what I understand it. Douglas has had to be towed to the pits, so has Jay Calais, but we'll get the story on that very shortly. And in fact, we're getting the story immediately. Here is the replay. Well, in fact, this is not the correct replay, and the fact we're seeing the aftermath of Wayne Douglas's incident. I think we are going to get a bit of an earlier replay, and here it is. Well, Jay Clay nowhere to be seen, so 2 separate incidents, but Douglas defending, and a tap to the rear of his car by none other than Daniel Martin, and that's what's led to Wayne Douglas going to the wall there, coming into turn at number 1. A separate incident for Jay Clay, and this is what happened to the prime driver. In fact, missed his rear wing already, and as he come on through, a bit of a tap there to rear Wayne Douglas's car, and I think that was it for the privateer. As a result, that was what broke the proverbial camel's back. But meanwhile, we return to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, as we do. Well, we still got half the race distance to go here, and up front is Mikey Doble as the Doble Sim Racing drive pushes on, knowing right now everything else is out of his control. He just needs to win this race and hope that Swirydowicz doesn't get enough points in this final race of the season in order to seal the championship crown. We don't quite know exactly how the numbers are going to play out. We'll be updated once the racing is over, and we're not going to make any guesses on it. We don't want to get it wrong in terms of prediction. Indeed, many of you may remember the infamous incident in season 3 on the season finale, where it all came down to the number of race wins and podiums in the end between Doble and Dory, where Dory took the championship crown in the end in a surprising turn of events. So we're going to focus on what's here and now, and we can see right now this is Andrew Pike and Luciano Vitford battling side by side in towards turn number 8 through Coppice. And as we say hello to Costa Chats Continental in the YouTube chat, hope you're doing well, Costa. We're down towards the braking zone, they go in towards the S's here, and Vitford right now on the outside. Here comes Pike on the inside, and Pike doing everything he can to defend this position for P7 as Vitford now gets the cutback run out the corner. Daniel Martin just behind there, and a slightly wounded Honda after that contact with Wayne Douglas at the start of the previous lap. As they make the way down in to Melbourne here, it's going to be Pike who goes very, very deep, and Vitford comes on through, so does Martin, and Pike there of a rare error, losing 2 places at the price of 1 mistake. As they make the way up the rise, Sam Van Olsen still in amongst all the pro rivals around him, including Wojciech Swirydowicz, and also what is Nick Clemens, and Swirydowicz on the outside, but also on the inside here, and the Goldwing Motorsport driver looking to try and hold on to a top 15 finish as the battling gets ever more intense between them as they roar their way onto lap number 7. In front of them is Zanatachi versus Clemens. Clemens with a slight overlap into Redgate. That's going to give the opportunity to go on the attack. But Zanatachi just outruns his rival around through the corner. As we ride on board as they make their way down into the crater curves here. Well, this is the battle for P11 you're looking at. Right on board, looking at the rear of the Infinity Velociter piloted by the number 14 driver Zanatachi, and in towards the old hairpin they go. Clemens tries to throw the dummy into the hairpin, but it doesn't work. Zanatachi knows on such an intense inside line, the narrow apex line means he won't be able to carry any speed, and therefore he just carry his way as they make the way up towards McLean's. But as they do for the left-hander, turn number 6, again you can see Clemens so close, looking to find a way in. As meanwhile running wide there is Swirydowicz, and that is going to be a costly error in the Valet drops him down to P15 with Gavin Gardner getting on through at McLean's. And as they roll off the apex right now, Samuel's tucked him right behind Clemens. You can't quite see him, but just as he's there, as they make their way down the back straight, the racing right now could not be more than a knife edge here when it comes to overall championship. And as they all roll the way down, meanwhile we look a little bit further back into Harley Bittnell versus Duncan Moraes as they fight over P9 in the prime class, or it's P23. Moraes on the inside in the run down towards the S, still be the outside in fact by the time he gets towards turns 9 and 10, and Bittnell tucking in behind it, not able to find a way in, and Moraes takes the position in the Honda steering tyre path for Goldwing Motorsport. As they come on through, looking from them to back to the battle for P11 and onwards. Well, here is even more fighting, as it does seem as though Vanol's trying to ease his way ahead of Nick Clemens. But as they come in towards the left-hander, Clemens now coming back on through Goddard. As Zanatachi just starts to break away in P11 as they make their way down. Vanol's flashing his lights. They're not happy about something in terms of potentially some contact between the drivers. But Swirydowicz being, well, in P15, right now just simply waited his opportunity. And, well, given the fact he's in P15, it's going to be minimal points in this race. And, well, that could prove costly given Doble's leading right now. But, again, we still do have the best part of 6 laps remaining. And anything can happen here until it's all over, ladies and gentlemen. So don't count out the Semper Racing driver yet on his debut season. Could he become the overall drivers' champion? Well, he'll be hoping to get a few more places in order to do so. But remember, drop scores are also a major effect here, and that's why the mathematics is so convoluted as they make their way in towards McLean's corner for the 8th time of asking. But as they roll on through and up the rise they go. Meanwhile, we look back to Joseph Doble, who right now, the Doble Sim Racing driver, he'll be acting as Mikey's rear gunner, but also he'll be looking to make it a 1-2 for Doble Sim Racing. And the reason, simply put, is the fact that they want all the points they can in order to try and take 2nd place in the team's championship. As it looks so right now, NXTGEN Pink may just be able to sneak away with it, despite the incident which cost 3 of their drivers this race at the very start, but they may have just done enough. As they make their way down. Meanwhile, Lee Horn on the inside of Sabula here, making their way side by side into the break zone. Sabula the attacker, Horn on the defense, and it does seem so right now. Horn trying to hold on to that final podium spot and trying to end his season on a high. And indeed, the number 36 driver here, 9, that since his promotion to the pro class at the start of the season, he's added up his game, and this is a demonstration once again of how far he has raised his bar as he makes his way onto lap number 9. As they charged away across line and onwards towards the opening corner, long line of stern pack behind Alex Meredith, meanwhile still holding onto the prime lead here in P5 overall ahead of Alan McCain, and these two separated by only 4 tenths if that, as they come through the right hander and down they go towards what will be very shortly, at the crater curves, was they do. Luciano Vipfer also there behind McCain. You can imagine Meredith will be hoping that McCain has to spend more and more time focusing behind him rather than in front, and now buying the breathing room. He needs to bring home this prime win. But as they roll off with a hairpin and up towards McLean's, from them, Horn and Stabula again side by side, potentially coming through 6 into 7. And it does look as though Stabula right now absolutely chomping at the bit to make a move, to find a way to go hunting after the Double Sim Racing leaders, but he can't find his way past on for NXTGEN with Sam Cases. And as they come through the right hander, meanwhile, further back John Higgins Jr. side by side here with Paul Zanatachi. It's Zanatachi on the fence versus Higgins Jr. trying to move up into P10. He does exactly that, going on through Coppice. But as they make their way down the back straight now, can Higgins Jr. find a way back into the fight? It's going to be a drag race here between the Veloster and the Elantra. The Elantra is the faster car in the top gears, but it's not a long enough run to get into 6th gear. And as a result, Higgins Jr. now sits behind as they make their way down towards Melbourne. But as they do, he's looking close. The iRacing Sport Striker could tease out a move here. Can he find it? No, he can't at the moment, having to wait his turn. Meanwhile, Van Olst on the inside of Clemens. As meanwhile, Clemens gives all the space to try and cut back, but that only releases Wojciech Swirydowicz into the fight. And Swirydowicz given an opportunity to move into P13. It's another place gained here for the Semper Racing driver. And right now, I think it's going to be more and more about getting his elbows out as we ride on board with the number 80 from Poland, P13 right now, but he'll want to be inside the top 10 as a minimum, with the fact that Mikey Doble is leading this race, and they went into this final race of the season provisionally 27 points apart, with Swirydowicz the leader of the two of them. But right now things will swing the other way. How far they'll swing, we're not 100% certain, but Swirydowicz will not want things to end where it currently stands, and as they make their way down on through the crane of curves here, right into left, we're going in towards the old hairpin. Swirydowicz 9, he's got 4 laps to try and gain at least 3 more places, if not more. He'll want every point that matters. Every point counts now in this final race of the season. There's plenty of batting in front of him to make sure his rivals fall back closer and closer, including Luciano Vitfer, who fights here with both Daniel Martin and Alex Meredith, as the two RD Sinsport drivers seem to trip over one another as they make their way in towards Coppis. And I think Martin on the inside of Meredith, and the problem is, here comes McCain. McCain sees the doors wide open. He doesn't need to be told twice to go for it, and meanwhile Andrew Pike behind the iRacing was pushing his teammate along as they make their way down the back straight, and Meredith depend on the inside here. Well, Meredith's going to have to go all in on this one if he wants to hold the lead of the prime class, but McCain also makes it on through. Too wide, and Meredith in the end, it's turned sideways into the barrier, and in the end win what I think will be some innocent contact between the two drivers. It ends up in what is a disaster for Meredith, who's towed to the pits due to damage picked up from the impact of the wall. That'll be a collapsed front suspension, and Alan McCain takes the lead of the prime class. It's not the way anybody wanted it to happen, but too wide into the S's doesn't always work, and there's an example when it doesn't work, as Alan McCain now P7 overall. Well, the nearest rival to him in the prime class will be Sambadol's P11, and I think McCain will just be keeping his head down, trying to stay out of trouble for the remainder of this race as they make their way up towards Redgate Corner. But as they do, we take a look back at that instant between the two drivers there, and definitely another major point of contention for the race today. And here is the replay. As they made the way on down in the end, neither driver was going to back out as we looked at the helicopter camera that was following them, and it was Meredith on the inside, McCann on the outside, as they made the way on through. The tiniest of taps there as Meredith tried to hold it inside to outside, and McCain, I think, had claimed the line, he would argue, and that's what led to the disaster for Alex Meredith in the end. And well, Alex Meredith 9, with the championship settled, he just had to go for it and try and bring home the win, but definitely not the way to end his championship campaign this season, as meanwhile more and more places falling for iRacing Esports here, as John Higgins Jr. now drops down to P14, and that's Gavin Gardner on his inside going up the rise into Coppis Corner. But Wojciech Swirydowicz also up into P11 as Higgins Jr. now trying to defend around the outside versus Mould on the inside through Coppis. That's going to be a switch of positions on circuit now, and Mould on the outside down towards the S's, but as they power their way down on your live TV screens, ladies and gentlemen, Higgins Jr. right now stay on the inside. Will they find the same fate as what happened to McCain and Meredith only months ago? No, they won't, as Mould in the end made to go deep, and as a result Higgins Jr. will get the overspeed, he'll get the cutback, and as they head down towards Melbourne, onto those brakes they go, but Mould still around the outside here, using the stronger brakes of the Veloster versus the Elantra in order to try and make this count. But Swirydowicz in return now trying to look for P10 here versus Vanols. Vanols goes defensive, looking to try and hold on to an overall top 10, one of a limited number scored by prime drivers this season, and the number 80 driver here of Swirydowicz being made to work as hard as humanly possible from lap to lap, corner to corner, nobody giving him any free passes here as they make the way towards the braking zone. And as they do, well, the penultimate lap right now, the sun is setting at Donington Park, and well, who will be the overall champion? Mikey Doble will lead, Swirydowicz sits P11. He needs to gain some more places here. We're not quite sure of the mathematics. What we are sure of is that right now things are finally balanced, and meanwhile in the team's championship, well, NXTGEN Pink, well, they've lost most of their drivers in terms of out of the major overall points, but they still do have Gavin Gardner running in P12, and he's trying to bring home a few more points to the team with what is only a couple of laps to spare, as he makes his way on through left hand and up towards the McLean's corner. Well, right now with Jamie Dory all the way down P32, Wayne Douglas down in P34. It's definitely been a disastrous final race. Benjamin McCluskey P30, so all their hopes rest on Gavin Gardner's shoulders in terms of fend off the Storm of Doble Sim Racing, plus also one is Semper Racing. But as they make the way on down the back straight, well, here comes McCain, and behind him comes Paul Zanatachi battling with Andrew Pike. Pike on the inside of the right, your picture. Meanwhile, Samuel's having to go defensive then, try to cut to the inside of Zanatachi, but that's going to lead to contact, and with Swirydowicz comes on through, he picks off one. Zanatachi defends the inside. Here comes Swirydowicz to the outside now as he makes his way on down. He's got to seize the opportunity. He's throwing everything at this around the outside. He tries to make it work at Melbourne, but in the end, Zanatachi just simply extends the apex of the corner and says to Swirydowicz, no, you're not going to pass. The white flag waves. Our race leader goes onto the final lap, and Swirydowicz switches to the inside, going all in. It's going to get very messy here as they make the way on through, but you can understand why right now. Sometimes you've got I'll crack a few eggs to make an omelette, as they say in the colouring art. And right now, Swirydowicz is 3 wide. Van Olst on the right, Zanatachi left, Swirydowicz in the middle. It's going to be 3 wide into Redgate corner. It's going to be reverse Moses manoeuvre, surely, as they make them through. Swirydowicz loses both places as Van Olst and Zanatachi go around the outside and inside of their rival. Down into the crater curves they go, they roar their way on through. This is absolutely phenomenal racing, and it's the NXTCC that's its finest as they come on through, and as they do, Zanatachi right now on the inside, it's the old hairpin. Van Olst still down the outside, and Swirydowicz watching, waiting in the wings, looking for an opportunity to get back into the fight. Flashing his lights, there is Sam Van Olst, knowing that he wants to place back, and as they come up into McLean's, well, meanwhile Swirydowicz still waiting there behind as they go into the braking zone, no way through. But meanwhile, we've got even more drama as Lee Horn is off. Lee Horn has fallen off the circuit at turn at number 7, and as he rejoins, well, that's going to promote everybody up a place there if they're inside the top 15 right now. Meanwhile, Jasper Sevilla battling with Luciano Vitford coming down into the S, and as he does so, going defensive into the corners. That's going to give Vitford all the momentum he needs to try and go on the attack. Meanwhile, further behind, it's Linus Stern here, all the way from Zanatachi in P8 through to Daniel down in P15. Nobody right now daring to risk it, but as they all come up the rise and down in towards Melbourne. Meanwhile, we look to your race leader, ladies and gentlemen. Whichever way the championship goes, he'll know he's done everything he can to make it a 3rd crown, because Mikey Doble will take the win in the final race of the season for Doble Sim Racing, and behind him it'll be a 1-2 for the team, with Joseph Doble's 2nd place there. Jazz Sabine will complete the podium for Semper Racing there. Luciano Vitford and Daniel Martin. Alan McCain takes the prime win, his 2nd win today for iRace Esports, ahead of Andrew Pike. Paul Zanatachi P8 ahead of Sam Van Olst P9, Prime P2, Wojciech Swirydowicz P10 in the end, but is it enough? We're not sure at the moment. We'll find out soon enough. Gavin Garner P11 ahead of Nick Clemens and John Higgins Jr. Your top 15 being completed by Dan Mould and Daniel Daniel, who completes the prime podium. And still more drivers to come through, ladies and gentlemen, including Sam Smith, who finishes P26, P11 in prime, ahead of Luke Jones. And then we've got Craig Tilleston here, P28, in what is a season-best performance, P13 in the prime class, P28 overall, ahead of Paul Scott. And Benjamin McCluskey will be the last driver to complete your top 30 for Next Gen Pink, ahead of what will be in approximately 7 seconds' time, Russell Fowler for Performance Thing Esports, who creeps on through for P31. And well, from him, we do have Adam Delmont, who is the best part of half a minute down. And he's still battling with Jamie Dory here. We've still got some fireworks right at the end of the racing today. And well, they may not be battling for points right now, but the two good friends off the circuit are battling for pride on the circuit. Their races have not gone the way they wanted it to in race number 3. And Delmont here defending, coming down into Goddard's for what is P18 of the pros, or P32 overall. And he's going to take that position ahead of Dory, come that checkered flag. But meanwhile, as they cross line, it will then be what is Wayne Douglas, who finishes the lap down P34. Those are your race finishers, ladies and gentlemen. But the big question is, who is your overall champion? Is it Mikey Doble or is it Wojciech Swirydowicz? They'll both be thinking they've got it done. We're not quite sure who's got it done. And again, we don't want to try and potentially predict who it is. In case we get it wrong, we don't want to misinform you live on air, ladies and gentlemen, until we know the true facts of those provisional standings. What we can tell you is it definitely has been a championship battle that has run the entire distance of the season, and whoever wins it, they have earned it. There is no question about it. And in the team's championship as well, we reckon Next Gen Pink may have just snuck it across the finish line in the end, with Gavin Garner getting some last-ditch points for the team in this final race, but we're not 100% sure whether that is truly the case, given the way the results have gone in this final race of the day. But one thing we do know is that the results, the provisional results from race number 3 are here, and let's bring them up on screen, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Whereas we can see Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing leading home a 1-2 between himself and teammate and brother Joseph Doble, with Semper Racing's Jaroslav Saviola fighting onto the final spot of the overall podium. Behind the Semper Racing drive, Bradman Esports is Luciano Vitford in an absolutely masterclass drive to P4, ahead of Daniel Martin P5 for RD Sim Sport, and a great way to end his campaign as well. And we'll see how he got on versus Jaroslav Saviola in the battle for P3. Alan McCain P6 there, your prime winner. 2 primes this prime wins this season for Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, and both coming in the season finale in races 1 and 3, ahead of Andrew Pike, his teammate P7. Affinity's Paul Zenatachi absolutely clawing onto that P8 in the end. A great drive for him to wrap up his championship campaign, and a Sam Vinos runner-up in the Prime Class, P9 there for Goldwing Motorsports, and then it was none other than Wojciech Swirydowicz who completed your top 10 there for Semper Racing. Gavin Garner P11 for Next Gen Pink, ahead of Nick Clewins, followed up by John Higgins Jr., Dan Mould and Daniel Downing, the Goldwing Motorsport driver in the end, following up his teammate to make it a 2-3 on the Prime podium and completing the Prime podium of McCain, Van Olst and Downing. P16 to Lee Horn ahead of Isaac Doble, and your Prime champion being followed up by none other than Matthew Cheverton, who in the end does return to the top 5 of the Prime class in the final race of the season. Congrats to the Aztec Racing driver. Mark Kemp P19 ahead of Matthew Addy to complete your top 20, and then Duncan Murray's P21. P22 to Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsport ahead of Jonathan Collins, with Martin Shuddy and Reeswap wrapping up your top 25. And from the JW Motorsport driver iRacing Esports is Sam Swift P26 ahead of Luke Jones, Craig Tillerston, Paul Scott and Benjamin McCluskey to complete your top 30. Russell Fowler P31 ahead of Adam Delmont, and then Jamie Dory, the last driver to finish on the lead lap there, P33. Wayne Douglas finished a lap down P34, 2 laps ahead of what was Alex Meredith after that unfortunate late incident into the S's between himself and Alan McCain. I'm sure they'll settle that after the racing today, and I think there'll be no feelings hurt with regards to the fact it was close racing all the way. Jay Clay with the unfortunate early retirement, classified as a non-finisher after retiring what was 4 laps into the race. Mark Sykes retiring on the second lap. He'll be classified as a non-finisher there, P37 for next year with Sam Cases. And then I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that's all 37 of your drivers accounted for. 37 starters, and in the end 35 finishers, with 33 of them being on the lead lap. With that, that brings all of our racing to a close, and we are just waiting now, ladies and gentlemen, for the final announcements with regards to who your champions are. And I do believe we may be able to give you those updates straight away, and give us a brief moment right now because the information is coming on in. And I do believe as we are getting that data fed through to us, just hold on a brief moment. We are not trying to keep you in suspense for too long here, because that data is just being processed through, not by fax machine, we should be pointed out, but it is just being downloaded to our broadcast right now. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is the final top 5 standings after what has been 30 races, 10 rounds over 10 weeks. And here we can see what is provisionally in the overall drivers championship. Mikey Doble has provisionally made it 3 drivers titles as of today by 12 points over Wojciech Swirydowicz. In the end, it's been close between them, and it has gone down to the wire, but this has just come on through, and we do believe that Mikey Doble with the win in the final race, and Wojciech Swirydowicz finishing P10 after the unfortunate incident in race number 2, which put him a long way down the order. It has meant that Mikey Doble has taken that crown, and Daniel Martin is your 3rd place finisher there, ahead of Jaroslav Sabula by in the end what was a margin of 31 points. Jamie Dory P5 after what was a disastrous end to his championship season in the final race of the day. He takes P5 after missing out on what could have been potentially a P4 if not a P3, but that is the provisional top 5 there for the overall Drivers' Championship, and congratulations to Mikey Doble. We will get a word with him shortly, ladies and gentlemen. We then come onto the Prime class here, and as we can see, Isaac Doble, we announced him as your champion at come the end of race number 1, but there's the further confirmation. By 161 points, he is your IMB Racewear Pro-Am champion, taking his 1st title this season, ahead of Daniel Downing, who did just enough in the end to hold off Matthew Addy after what was definitely the most eventful pair of, the most eventful round for the pair of drivers of Downing and Addy, and I don't think any of them could have foreseen how the racing played out here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Alan McCain held off Sam Van Olsten to take P4 by 2 points, and what a rivalry between them. But that's your top 5 in the IMB Racewear Pro-Am Championship for Season 5. And in the Teams Championship, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And as we can see, Next Gen Pink have taken it with their results in the first 2 races of the day. It was enough to give them the safety net to take the crown, ahead of Doble Sim Racing and Semper Racing by 100 and 213 points respectively. Congratulations to Next Gen Pink, and it does mean, I do believe, And that Jamie Dory now continues his record of being the only driver to be on the winning championship team and the team's championship over all 5 seasons of the NXTCC. Would you believe it? That statistics carries on, and Next Gen Pink taking the title there ahead of their rivals, with SRL Next Gen fighting to a valiant P4 and holding off Brabham Esports, Performance Link Esports and Affinity, the conglomerate there, who take P5. Now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we would encourage you not to go immediately, because we do have one more raffle draw to do, in the fact we've been doing a lottery bowl draw for all of our reverse grid races over the course of this season. But we also, some of you may be aware, that going into this season we did have a prize and an award to be given. I do believe it was a monetary award, albeit the value of it escapes me, but I believe it may have been in the regard of what was approximately £50, unless I'm mistaken. But there was an end of season award for any driver who completed every single round of the season with no disqualifications from the races or any disconnects from the races. And we are now going to show you who those drivers are who've completed every race of the season, have been registered, and here is your finalised list. Congratulations to our 11 drivers who've made it onto the list. It's Adam Delman, Benjamin McCluskey, Isaac Doble, Jasper Sabula, Joseph Doble, Martin Shirley, Matthew Cheverton, Mikey Doble, Paul Zenatachi, Reese Watt and Sam Van Alst. And I'm now going to have what is our series organiser of Jamie Dory join me in what is the broadcasting room here. And in fact, as we do now pinch him to join us in the room, Jamie, welcome to you. And of course, we're just coming around now to talking about the fact we've got 11 drivers here who have completed every single round of the championship campaign. I mean, it's great to see all our drivers out there, but a special gratitude to these guys for being there week in, week out and not giving up in any of the races, surely.
Yeah, 100%. That's why the prize is there for the people that, you know, it's touring car racing. You get the bad days, you get the good days. It's just for the people. It's too easy on Sims to jump off and have a little bit of a rage. So the people who turn up week in, week out, you know, do all of the events, race until the end. If it doesn't go their way, even sit in the pits without DQing or jumping out, disconnecting, it makes the stream look poor. So yeah, I think a little bit of something to the people that they can stay there throughout.
So we do potentially have a question from Daniel Downey, in fact. Should he not be on here because of what was Magni Corp? But I believe you might just be clarifying that with him before we do the lottery bowl draw. Will we have a 12th name in our bowl here?
Yeah, so Daniel Downing is, he is literally just about to be added. That was our technical issues. Bear with me.
I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first time we've done this raffle draw, so there's always going to be little glitches and blips and whatnot. But the funny thing about this, Jamie, is the fact if it's 12 drivers exactly, we've got 12 lottery balls here for the Next Gen Bowl. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better coincidence, surely.
I know, that's the good thing about it. It's almost like it's meant to be.
Well, as we just get that updated, so ladies and gentlemen, we have our 12 drivers, and without further ado, we are now going to do the lottery bowl draw in the commentary booth. And of course, the only way we can do it is doing it as much like our reverse grid draw. And I believe, well, we're going to be cut into the booth now, and we will lose the microphone input for Jamie for a brief moment, but we'll bring him back in a very short period of time. And as we do, well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the final draw out of the Lottery Bowl. It's the participation raffle draw, and this, I do believe, for £50 from all of our 12 drivers. We're going to close our eyes, draw a ball out of the bowl. You saw numbers against each of our 12 drivers. Whichever number is drawn, they will be the winner of the participation raffle. Here we go. And there's the shuffle. And now we're going to draw our ball. And that was completely done with our eyes closed here. And our first ever participation prize raffle draw winner will be, it is the number 4, which does mean, as we do bring in none other than Jamie Dory back into the broadcast here. Give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to bring him in very shortly. And in fact, we do now have Jamie back on air. Jamie, it's the number 4, and it means it's Jausa Sabula has taken the raffle prize award.
Amazing, yeah. Congratulations, Sabula. Obviously being a great asset this season, coming in with Semper and Wojciech. So, yeah, I mean, everyone, all those 12 drivers there, could have taken it, and I would have been over the moon. But yeah, no, it's a good result.
Oh, 100%. And speaking of results now, of course, we've got our championship standings provisional subject to stewards' inquiries after the racing today. Indeed, all that's to come. But we should start announcing, I think, our overall and also our Pro-Am champion. And let's start off with none other than our overall champion. And it is, of course, Mikey Doble, who has made it 3 titles now. And as we bring up our celebratory poster there in commemoration of Mikey Doble's achievements, I mean, firstly, Jamie, it went to the wire between both him and Wojciech Swirydowicz every step of the way, and it would be unfair of us not to talk about the fact you had Daniel Martin in the mix, also Jasta Sabula, and also yourself for the majority of the season. It was a 5-way fight that couldn't have been closer.
Yeah, it's typical NXTCC, really, isn't it? It's I think every season now, fifth season with the one to follow, which we'll talk about later. It's the usual final round, final race. It goes down to that's all you really ask for in touring car racing. Yeah, congratulations to Mikey. I know, mind me saying it. Damn it, he's got the back-to-back. He's broken the trend, but he's a deserving champion. I mean, anyone who could have taken it in the top 4 there, in my eyes. You know, Mikey, Wojciech, Daniel, and Sabula, all of them deserve to be champions in my eyes. They've raced really, really well and put on a great show. So, as always, congratulations to the overall. But you know, everyone who participates deserves a little something.
Oh, 100%. I think it's time we do bring Mikey in for an immediate interview, if that's okay with yourself, Jamie.
Absolutely. Yep.
As we do bring Mikey in to the interview. Mikey, the results are in, and provisionally you have become our 3rd time Drivers' Champion in the overall championship for the NXTCC. And as Jamie's just mentioned, you've broken the trend of it going back and forth between the two of you by becoming our first ever successfully defending champion. How does it feel to have sealed it all at Donington Park's Grand Prix circuit?
Yeah, wow, what a moment. I mean, I wasn't after race 2. If you just said that I'd be sitting in here as champion, I probably might not have believed you, but I knew that the dream was still alive, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, me and Jamie have said several times throughout this season, considering how competitive it is now, that it's only ever been myself or him that have taken a title in this, and even one it was tied on points, so it's always been close. But no, this one goes to me again, 2 for 2 in the Veloster. So yeah, really pleased, really pleased. And I think it's, considering how competitive it's going to get next season, if it wasn't tough enough this season, I think I'm glad I've won it now, because I might not win one for another few seasons or so.
Oh, goodness me. I mean, when the racing is this close, and this season has really seen things step up. I mean, coming into this season, were you expecting it to be this tight come the end of it? 'Cause you've had absolutely incredible performances from the likes of Daniel Martin, plus also Jamie, who sits with us at the moment. And then, of course, newcomers who've just come along and shaken up the grid, particularly Semper Racing's Wojciech Swirydowicz and also Jasa Sabula, who've kept you honest every step of the way.
No, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, the grid is now just oozing quality in the drivers, right the way down to sort of 20th, 25th. And to be fair, the racing's clean all the way through the field, right down to last. But you know, nothing's easy now, and it's so great to have so many fast drivers that are committed to the series and form their own teams and take it seriously and are competitive. And you know, they all want to win. And I think, you know, if you go back and look at the trends throughout the season, there's probably been 5 or 6 drivers that have led the points at some point. But as the season went on, the battle kind of whittled down to 2 or 3 drivers, and I feel personally that perhaps myself and Wojciech were probably the fastest drivers on pace all season, and that's how we started the season at Brands Hatch in P1 and 2 in qualifying. So yeah, it's been a great season. I've absolutely loved every minute of it. Been stressful at times, but yeah, really pleased to be sitting here on the top step.
Oh, well, what an achievement from yourself. And let's talk a little bit about Donington Park today. Of course, a circuit which is synonymous with achievements from yourself. We only have to look back to 2022 in the hotly contested Ginetta Championship, which you took there on your way to entering BTCC in 2023. I mean, this circuit you've always gone very strongly at.
Yeah, particularly the GP loop. I mean, there's something about the GP loop round Donington that seems to have many milestones in my real world career, and it appears now in my sim career as well. I mean, I got my first ever circuit car race win round Donington GP. I got my first ever pole position at Donington in the Ginetta before I even got a pole in the BMW series. And then I got crowned my GT5 champion in dramatic style back in 2022, as you alluded to. So now I can add NXTCC 3-time champion to that list of Donington GP milestones. But I've always said Donington is not, I wouldn't classify it as one of my favourite circuits in the country to drive, but something about the GP circuit that I seem to be able to perform quite well when it matters on that circuit. I don't know what it is, but I much prefer it to the national, if I'm being honest. And yeah, it was obviously aligned in the stars.
Oh, without a doubt. And with regards to the race in this round, we went into it knowing that it was only 3 points between yourself and Wojciech. And in qualifying, the two of you looked very close throughout, but in the end, P12 in qualifying versus what was for Wojciech a top 5 position. Did that make you think at any point, you know what, this is perhaps not going the way it was planned at the start?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that the difference in weight between P1, P2, and P3 seems to be quite a significant jump. And then I feel like for the likes of myself and Dan Mould, Dan Martin, Wojciech, Jamie, that when you're kind of P5 and downwards, you're still capable of getting a pole position. So it's only really those top 5 positions where it has a significant impact on your pace. And I was quite pleased with the lap I put together in qualifying. I don't think I could have gone much faster, but Wojciech, I think one of his strengths all seasons has been how quick he's been with ballast in his car. I mean, I think back to when we was at Ossersleben and how fast he was there with, I think, P2 ballast, and he put it on pole and had a mega night there. So I knew he was going to be quick. And but yeah, I just luckily I got a good start in race 1 and managed to pick a few places off. But yeah, I wasn't overly disappointed with the qualifying, but yeah, I was still had my sights firmly set on trying to limit the damage to Wojciech and then beat him in race 2.
Oh, without a doubt. And speaking of race number 2, going into that race, of course, making more places after what was a great race number 1. But in the end, it was a P11 finish, albeit drama for both yourself and Wojciech in equal regards, albeit it looked as though it was very close at the front going into turn number 12 for you both.
Yeah, I thought I'd blown it. I thought I'd thrown it away. It definitely wasn't his fault. The contact, I'd put that down to a racing incident. I mean, I managed to take the lead from Wayne, and I wasn't in a rush to try and do so because I didn't want to force the issue or make any sort of contact which might have given me a penalty. So once I got past him, Wojciech managed to follow me through Coppice, and then he wasn't going anywhere. So I thought, right, now's the time to try and put some quick laps in. I knew my car was slightly lighter than Wojciech's, only by a matter of a few litres, but obviously he was able to sit in my toe, and just with his immense pace, he got a good run through the chicane, and that's where it all started. It forced me to defend heavily into the hairpin, which I'm used to doing around this track. But I mean, in these big touring cars, it's a different animal to try and get them stopped when you're completely offline. And then we had a little bit of contact coming out the hairpin. Again, I tried to stay off of him, but we just kind of glued together a little bit on the corner-to-corner contact, and then I managed to just get across his nose into the final hairpin, and he went to my outside, and I just lost a little bit of rear grip coming through the middle of the corner, and it was enough to just send me away from the apex, causing slight contact between my right rear and his left front. And as sometimes happens in this game, once you lean on each other, it's really hard to kind of remove yourself from their bodywork. So it just kind of sent me into a spin, and in which case I couldn't just loop back round onto the racing line because there was 35 cars coming around the corner, so I had to go the long way round, serve a slowdown penalty, and fall back to 20th. So I was really pleased with my efforts to get back to P11.
And following on from that, of course, our final reverse grid of the season being a top 17 reverse grid, and you wasted no time in charging your way into the lead of the final race. I think the idea was behind this, correct me if I'm wrong, just get the lead. Whatever happens after that, that's up to fate to decide.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few points to play with, because not only was I looking at winning the race, but also trying to ensure that I got fastest lap, because I knew that if I could win and get fastest lap, Wojciech would have to drive from P16 up to P4, which would be very, very difficult with P2 ballast on from race 2. And I knew that if I won the race without the fastest lap, then he would have to finish P6, and if he got fastest lap, he'd finish P4. So either way, he had to finish in the top 6. I had Joseph as my teammate. Obviously, there was a bit of a rear gunner behind me, although he didn't need to do anything untoward to affect the results or anything. But yeah, it was. I was trying to set qualifying laps to try and ensure I got the fastest lap, and I was driving in deep into the last corner sometimes to try and get the run out and ensure I got some laps. And I just nailed the brake bias and the car balance for a couple of laps, and managed to set a time which was a 36.6 or something, the fastest lap I did all night. And I thought to myself, well, someone will do very, very well to try and beat that. It would have to be a toe and a prayer, really. But I was watching my relative all the way through the race at where Wojciech was, and I saw that he was making places up, but perhaps not as quick as he needed to get the points he needed. And then obviously winning the race and him finishing only 9th, I think perhaps it was a blessing in disguise having a poor race too, because I've always said in this league there's more points to gain from a strong race 3 than there is from a good race 2, and then having max ballast being thrown back in the middle of the pack and barely making any places up. So yeah, I mean, it will come together in the end.
Oh, it did. And, well, looking to yourself, Jamie, any questions for your rival, turned 3-time champion today?
Well, the only thing I can really say is you're ready to lose next season, Mikey. You know.
I am ready to lose, but am I going to be losing to you is the question.
Yeah, you know, I don't really have anything to say. Obviously, Mikey's a standout driver, always has been. He's a great asset to Next Gen, and he's been by our side for a long time. He doesn't have to be, and you know, without being too soppy, because that's not how I do things. He's always welcome, and you know, he's a great asset to have here. And yeah, you know, congratulations on the championship, and you know, short 6 weeks until we try and launch something else. So it'll all be back to the grind again.
Yeah, I think I'll just add as well, obviously how great the league has become from where it started when I joined Next Gen back in 2021, and we was running the Legends leagues, and then that went on to become the Mazdas, and then into a touring car league which barely got over 15 cars in its first league, rather like the British touring cars, to be honest. And now we've got grids booming over 35 cars every week. You know, we're disappointed if we're anywhere near 30, and we've got so many people now that are committed to the league. And also, I for one, I mean, obviously a lot of people look over to me as a BTCC driver and assume that I perhaps wouldn't take this seriously, or it wouldn't mean that much to me, because I know that we've had touring car drivers in the past that have joined us in this league and kind of been just played at it, you know, done a couple of races and then thought, oh no, sod this, I'll go and do something else on my Tuesday nights. But obviously I've been in this league since I was a club racer, and if I have a bad week, it ruins my next couple of days. It takes me ages to get over it, and if I'd have lost tonight, I wouldn't have got over it until we started again. So this really does mean a lot to try and keep winning this league, and in the off season it's a crucial point of the year for a driver like me, because it's the only form of competitive racing I have to keep my eye in, you know. So this is as big as it gets for me at the moment. So yeah, thanks to everyone, to you, Paul, for the broadcast. It's obviously always great, enjoy watching it back, and to all of Next Gen for their efforts.
Well, Mikey, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the grid as always. It wouldn't quite be the NXTCC without you up there giving it your best. And we look forward to seeing you back on the grid for Season 6. There's no doubt about it, to try and make it a 4th crown and try to extend that lead in the number of titles away from your rivals, one of whom sits with us currently. But on top of that as well, with the rivalries getting ever closer, we look forward to seeing you up your game here, but also in the real-life motor racing circuit, particularly in the BTCC for the calendar ahead. But until then, congratulations once again on your championship crown. And of course, we have to leave you with that final question, which is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast outside of Next Gen?
I'm glad you asked the question because I was going to have to butt in if you didn't, but I just want to give a big shout out to my teammate and youngest brother Isaac for a stellar season, stellar consistency, and he's getting obviously extremely quick now for someone as young and inexperienced as him on a very basic setup. I need to pull my finger out and basically finish building his new rig that was supposed to be built about 2 months ago, like he keeps telling me. But he's going to be a force to reckon with in the next series for sure if I can get everything sorted out on his new rig. Shout out, thanks to all my family that tune in every week and enjoy the broadcast. Anyone else that knows me that tunes in, I hope it's been worthwhile. And yeah, like I said, thanks to all the Next Gen, the broadcast team, and let's do it all again in a few weeks' time.
Well, Mikey, it's been an absolute pleasure. And congratulations on the championship. We look forward to plenty more. But until next time, thank you for joining me in the interview room and have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Well, there, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from our overall drivers champion, our pro driver of Mikey Doble. But Jamie, it wouldn't be appropriate if we didn't also hear from our prime champion once again. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. It's a shame the surname's the same, but yeah, let's get him in.
Alrighty, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring in our Pro-Am Drivers Champion. Here it is, as we see. Oh, goodness me, we've got a bit of an incorrect screen there. Give us a brief moment, and there we go. That's the screen we're looking for, and that's in the form of our Pro-Am Champion, Wojciech Doble, who now does join us in the interview room. Isaac, apologies for snatching away once again. I'm sure you're enjoying the adulation of a few of your sim racing friends right now, but we could not let you get away without joining us once again for an interview after the season has wrapped up. Now, race 30 out of 30 is complete. How does it feel to have finally brought the championship to a close?
It feels great to get a win. I'm exhausted after tonight, honestly. It's so hard to keep doing lap after lap quick, and it's just, I'm very happy in myself that I've kept it consistent all season and be able to stand on the top of the podium at the end of the year.
Well, Isaac, I mean, the facts tell themselves, and the fact that every round, it's very hard to actually pick a drop score for yourself. And we talked about this when we caught up with you after race number 1, when you had sealed the prime title crown. I mean, just the fact you've kept up this consistency, I have to ask, what's the next step? How do you improve from here?
Well, hopefully, with my new rig will come a little bit more pace in myself. Just the extra few attempts I need to really like push into the top 10 more and bringing the consistency with me, hopefully. Will hopefully make me top 10 driver in next season.
Oh, indeed, and with the upgrade in the tools and the faster pace that may come as a result from it, I do have to ask, coming on to more today, I mean, the Donington Park circuit seems to be a circuit that suited your brother Mikey, but also it seems to run in the blood that you all like Donington Park, because even with the success ballast, you're enjoying a lot of pace around here.
Yeah, it's a great track to drive. I really like it. I thought I probably could have had a little bit more pace tonight if I wasn't as conservative in race 1, not really pushing the limits of the car and hadn't really learnt the whole thing going into race 2, and I was just trying to keep it consistent, but unfortunately couldn't get the race 3 grid draw for race 3, and then just then after that into race 3. Um, I'm speechless at the moment, to be honest.
That's absolutely fair. I can completely understand. Well, just to talk a little bit about sort of the races themselves and those results, with regards to particularly what was the qualifying session. I mean, we saw you qualify in what was, I do believe, as we just get our data back in front of us, what was P9 in class, P29 in the session. But it looked as though for yourself, you've made a habit out of you qualify low because of the success ballast, but by the end of race number 1, you're already fighting for a top 5 finish. And in this case, it was P24 or P6 in class.
Yeah, since Brands Hatch, I'm pretty sure every round I had P1 ballast going into quali. So quali was just about getting a banker lap in the whole time, and then hopefully picking up from mistakes going into race 1, and then getting less ballast for race 2 and 3, and making my way up the grid for some podiums.
Indeed, with that rise through the field that you've been able to do, and it was a P9 finish in race 1, and in races 2 and 3, back-to-back P4 finishes, and it definitely looked as though both of those you were enjoying getting scrappy with some of your rivals, including the likes of Matthew Cheverton in the final race of the day.
Yeah, the racing I thought from where I was really good tonight, really clean, had some great battles out there tonight, and the two P4s obviously very, very nice, giving me more good points in terms of the championship to make it look a little bit nicer with a bigger gap at the end.
Well, indeed, a gap that only continued to grow as the racing went on. And I have to ask, of course, whilst you may have taken the championship crown after race number 1 and the relief at doing that, I mean, coming to the final checker flag of the season as prime champion and still picking up 2 back-to-back top 5s in the end, it must feel special coming across that finish line and knowing that you finished on a high. Not just the championship, but on the circuit in the final race.
It felt really nice coming across the line in that year, in that season. I think I only had one crash throughout the whole season, which made me go into the pits at Magny Corsa, which obviously helped my Pro-Am win. But I'm so happy to win it finally after 4 seasons. I think I've done that.
Well, indeed, it's been a long time coming, but it has finally arrived. And now I do have to ask, looking ahead to Season 6, I mean, it's only approximately 5 weeks away before we open up Season 6 to a whole new grid of racing. Can we expect you to be there to potentially defend your Prime title, or perhaps even compete in the Pro class?
Oh, definitely. I can't wait for it. With my new equipment and everything, I should be right on the pace and look quite quick, hopefully.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing you back on the grid and giving it everything. And just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, Mikey and Joseph for helping me quite a lot. Everyone watching downstairs, my family. You, of course, for doing a great stream, and all the league organisers for making this championship what it is at the moment.
Well, Isaac, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me once again in the interview. Congratulations on taking the Prime Championship and being what is our Season 5 Prime Champion and part of the runner-up team in Doble Sim Racing the Teams Championship. We look forward to plenty more from you in the weeks that are ahead. But until then, savour the moment. Feel free to be as speechless as you want and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Well, Jamie, you may be wondering why we decided not to ask you to ask Isaac any questions, and that's because we need to save your lovely voice for the fact we do need to now talk a little bit about our team's champions, NXTGEN Racing Pink, of which I do believe you're team leader.
Well, yeah, you can put it that way. I mean, yeah, we done it again, didn't we? I think Benji's around as well. I know Gav is in here and Wayne disappeared, but yeah.
I think it might be worth trying to grab a word with Benji as well as we just bring him in to the interview room. Benji, sorry to grab you away from some of your colleagues celebrating the achievements of NXTGEN Pink, but we couldn't exactly wrap up today's broadcast without having an interview with the NXTGEN Pink team champions here, and yourself and Jamie both available. I mean, Jamie seems a little bit speechless. How do you feel about the fact that you've wrapped it up and taken the crown?
Yeah, it's a little bit unexpected. I think going into the season, obviously winning last season, our goal and aim was to defend the team's championship. But I think after the first race or two, we maybe dropped down to 5th place. But then over the rest of the season, we just chipped away, worked hard, kept getting consistent good results, and making sure at least 2 of us in the team were able to score well. And we found ourselves with a lead going into into tonight, and we managed to. I don't know if we got in race 2 or whether it went down to race 3 or not, but it's quite a nice bonus to get for this season. It's been some fantastic racing and enjoyed every moment of it.
Oh, without a doubt. And for both of you, I mean, over the course of this season, we have seen returning teams such as SRL with NXTGEN. We've also seen what was new teams such as Semper Racing, and everybody in between really stepping up the pace. For you guys, were there any drivers or teams in particular that you were worried about most, particularly in the opening couple of rounds?
Well, like you say, the competition this season it's just gone up, not one gear, but maybe 2 or 3 gears. It's so intense, so quick, and some of these drivers, it's the lines and the speed that they're taking is unreal. And obviously, Semper Racing have had a fantastic season, and of course, we can't discount the Doble Racing team with Mikey and Joseph and Isaac always putting in strong performances. So we knew it was going to be tougher than ever. And fortunately, we were able to stay consistent throughout the season and managed to defend this championship.
Jamie, yourself, your thoughts to add to what Benji just said?
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, the fact, the Doble family, the racing bloodline through, I as far as I know, their dad and then their granddad as well, that they're naturally ingrained in motorsport, whether it's sim or real life. Semper, obviously coming in this season, Sabula, Wojciech, phenomenally quick guys, phenomenally clean. They were always with us in qualifying, so they were always a niggle in the back of our head, so we couldn't do our strategy to the best of our effect. But that's part of racing. You've got SRL NXTGEN, obviously SRL Sim Racing Leagues, Dan Mould, Dan One being over there now, Jake Hawley. There's so many teams, or there's so many things that can happen, and it just shows by, I think, the maximum points that can be drawn is 105 from a team's perspective, and it's just so close throughout the season. The only thing I think I'll take away, I'm over the moon with winning another championship, team's championship. Ever since, I'm quite fortunate every single season I've won the team's championship in the team I'm in, and that was my goal from about midpoint this season. So there's a goal again next season, 6 seasons on the roll. We'll see, but I think it's going to be even harder. Something to look forward to.
Oh, without a doubt, and I have to ask both of you in turn. We'll start with yourself, Jamie. If you have to look back at one round in particular, is there a round that stood out most for you as being your sort of highlight round or your favourite round of the season?
Just very, very arrogant. It's probably Silverstone last round. Listening to you when I was making those moves into the chicane. Just your voice. I love listening to your voice go to that excitable, which is what it should be for a commentator. It brought a smile to my face. I felt at home in that Audi. Tonight I didn't. Silverstone felt great in that car, even with the weight, and it's one of those. So I'll take Silverstone.
And for yourself, Benji?
Well, I think the mid-season was when I kind of started stringing together a couple of better results and was a bit more on form around Magny Chorus and Nürburgring, and managing to get the win at Sebring, and I think it was race 3 at Nürburgring as well. So 2 unexpected wins, but happy to get across the line and increase the tally. But like Jamie said, race 3 at Silverstone, the battle was probably the most intense and clean I've maybe seen this season. It was great to be a part of that. With Andrew Holmes racing as well, it's great to race with my good old friend. It's not very often he can come and join us, so to have him there as well, battling with the likes of Mikey, Jamie, Gav, that would be my pick for the best race.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And I do have to ask one quick question about perhaps not so great races. Could we just briefly touch on race number 3? I have to ask, gents, what exactly happened coming out of Starkey's Bridge? Because it looked as though in the fell swoop you managed to remove all of yourselves bar Gavin Gardner from the race.
I can do the diplomatic approach, or I'll do the diplomatic. There was a incident that I believe happened that caught pretty much wiped out 3 or 4 of our team. I went to go push Wayne on the exit because I got a better run, and with that, a car may have made contact and unsettled a few of us. As Benji spun round, hit my front left, and we were kind of very, very broke. So we're glad we managed to wrap up the teams in race 2, because, yeah, it couldn't be much closer.
Oh, without a doubt, and thank you for the oversight there. But in terms of looking ahead, so I presume we can expect you both back on the grid for Season 6?
Yeah, I think we've got a solid team here. I think going forth, if it's my selection, obviously the team is never set in stone. I wouldn't change anything about it. Maybe a few changes in cars, I believe, through the team whispers this week. But yeah, I think we need to do another season trying to defend our championship as the same team we are this season.
Well, absolutely love it. And for yourself, Benji, I mean, we love to see you on the grid as well. You also do some fantastic sim photography. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a professional to cover the photography for your race, and get in touch with Benjamin McCluskey under Benji Sim Photos. But we can expect you back for Season 6, Benji?
Yes, I should be back. I don't know what I'll be driving yet, but looking forward to driving and taking some more photos and maybe making a couple more posters as well.
Well, indeed, and those absolutely cracking posters which we've had at the conclusion of this season. Well, gentlemen, just before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, starting with yourself, Benji?
Well, I think we should maybe give a shout out for Jamie for running this league. You know, the hard work behind the scenes, and every single season has been getting better and better and more professional, and it's unreal driving in this league now. So big shout out to Jamie and all the other admin guys doing the safety car, Martin doing the race director, Gav doing the points, and everyone else who helps out with Stuart's inquiries and any other little detail behind the scene to make this league as fantastic as it is.
And for yourself, Jamie?
Might be a few minutes. I was just writing a little message in Discord at the same time. I'd like to thank everyone who's participated. Obviously, without the drivers, there would be no league. Obviously, Gavan for doing all the spreadsheets and behind the scenes work. The last couple of seasons he's done this, has taken it to a new level. Professionalism and correctness. The points are always done amazingly, and we've always got something to reference to. Obviously, Benji for the photos, as you mentioned, Paul. It just makes us look so much better than anyone else out there. That's not me being biased. I know Benji spends a lot of time on those photos, and we're going to try and get something in next season, so he gets more of a shout out and a reward for doing that. Obviously, yourself, Paul, you know, the comms, you've got a natural talent, and as long as I can, I'd love you to do that with us, especially with the NXTCC. You bring so much engagement to it, and it gets heard around the world, and people recognize you and the NXTCC arm in arm. Mark and Lee for the constant me ringing them up, moaning, having a little swear here and there, because it's hard work trying to put all of this together. Obviously, we've got Martin Brinkworth, who does all of this race directors. He's the driver's least best friend. He does a stellar job, pulls him in and everything. So thanks, Martin. Gaz for driving the safety car. He's not been out that much this season, but that just, I think, shows the quality of driving. But Mylande needs to watch out because his job's at risk. You know, to all the sponsors, IMB for backing this season, especially in the Pro-Am Championship, for putting up the prizes for them. You know, all the sponsors, NXTGEN itself, and to everyone who's involved, engages, watches. You know, a big thing is NXTGEN's just been recognised by YouTube. So we need to get those subscribes onto NXTGEN. I know a lot of people say that, and it does my head in watching videos where people go like and subscribe, but seriously, it's a way we can... NXTGEN, we don't make any money from this. Whatever we make, we throw back into the league. So the more people that like, subscribe, and get onto this YouTube, Twitch, wherever it is, it only goes back into you guys who race. So please just, do it, and we will bring more to the league. So yeah, everyone who's involved, just thank you. It makes the arguments between me and my other half and everything, and me spending so much time on the sim worth it.
Well, Jamie, Benji, thank you both for joining me in the interview room and representing our team's champions NXTGEN Racing Pink to wrap up our interviews for this season. Very well done by yourself and the wider team of also Wayne Douglas and Gavin Gardner. We look forward to seeing you defending that title in Season 6, but until then, savour the moment, enjoy it, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul. See you later, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a brief moment. We're not going to be with Jamie for a time, as he's got a couple of things to take care of in the background. But that brings to a close all of our interviews for today. And we've heard from what was firstly our overall Drivers' Champion, Mikey Doble, our three-time Drivers' Champion, now wrapping it up in style today in a long battle with Wojciech Swirydowicz. We also heard from our Prime Champion of Isaac Doble, taking his first ever Prime Championship crown. And we just heard from our team's champions, as we do see Jamie Dory doing some donuts towards the finish line there at the end of the final race. NXTGEN Racing Pink consisting of Jamie Dory, Gavin Gardner, Benjamin McCluskey and Wayne Douglas. But with that ladies and gentlemen, it is time, sadly to say, for us to wrap up. But of course, not without us taking a look back what will be the final points tables, albeit do we have those available? We do have the final tables available, so give us a brief moment and we will be popping those up on screen, the final top 15 tables. We do apologise for a slight delay, but of course all this data coming on through at the last possible moment, and give us a brief moment and you will now see appearing on screen, there's your final top 15 standings after what has been 30 races, 30 out of 30, 10 out of 10 rounds, and as we can see there, the confirmation of Mikey Doble, your champion by the margin of what was 12 points in the end over Wojciech Swirydowicz, and an absolutely phenomenal season-long battle. We also see Daniel Martin there, P3, and holding on to P3 in the end by a slender margin over Jaroslav Sabula, but getting the job done just about in, and a fantastic rivalry between them all the way to the finish. And then P5, Jamie Dory there, a further 9 points behind. From them, we have Benjamin McCluskey finish P6 in the end, a season best finish in terms of the fact we've seen him finish a bit further down previously, but P6 is the highest he's ever finished over the course of his NXTCC career, ahead of Joseph Doble, and then Dan Mould in what was looking to be a very strong start to the season, but an unfortunate midpoint of the season cost him dear, but still recovering. Division side, the top 10 with a P8. Adam Delmont P9 there behind his team out for SRL NXTGEN. And then a special mention to Paul Zenatachi P10, the Affinity driver who all the way through the season fought harder than most, I would argue, to finish inside the top 10. And he did it in the end with 724 points to 666 of Gavin Gardner. The number of the devil, some would say, and he had some devilishly good moments over the course of the season. The best of the rest driver there holding off Luciano Vitford by 24 points. And then Lee Horn, Isaac Doble and Andrew Pike completing your top 15, and Isaac Doble the sole prime driver inside the overall top 15. Congratulations to all of our drivers, and a special congratulations to Mikey Doble, our Season 5 provisional champion. We'll then come on to the Prime class, and here we can see Isaac Doble, your conferred champion by what was in the end 161 points versus his rivals. And behind him, Matthew Addy in P3. And as we can see from there, from Matthew Addy to Alan McCain, well, it wasn't too much between all the rivals there, given the fact as down in on 1,004 points, 13 ahead of Matthew Addy. And it was only the best part, if my maths is correct mentally, of what was 33 points to Alan McCain. One of the closest Prime Championships we have ever seen in the NXTCC. And Sam Van Olst as well, just holding on to P5 ahead of Alex Meredith, but it could have gone any which way. And for Alex Meredith, it's a question of what could have been if race number 3 hadn't have happened the way it did. Indeed, some rounds earlier in the season had not transpired the way they did, but still those what if questions always do confound drivers, but that's the way it sometimes goes. Sam Smith P7 on 846, 14 clear of Ben Altria, who wasn't on the grid today, and we do miss the fact he wasn't on the grid and what could have been for him for Full Tilt B Motorsport. Maverick Shepperton P9 and Jay Calais completing your top 10 with that unfortunate retirement in the final race of the day, costing him here, but still at the same time we'll be looking forward to seeing more from him in season 6 if he's on the grid. Duncan Rise P11 ahead of Paul Scott, with what was in the end Harley Bicknell, Luke Jones and Mark Sykes completing your top 15 for the Pro-Am IMB Racewear Drivers' Championship. Now, we don't unfortunately have the statistics of the team's championship available, but we did see the top 5 earlier and that confirmation of NXTGEN Racing Pink being your champions. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and a huge, huge shout out to all you guys and girls who've been tuning in throughout the season, where it's been just today, alternatively, all the way from the beginning. And we just like to say hello and thank you to what is some some of you who recently dropped messages in the Facebook, the YouTube, or the Twitch chat, including Kathy Rainey in the Facebook chat. Also there was Marcello Reales in the YouTube chat. Also too, I do believe there, Alex Meredith has enjoyed the racing all season, and also Catherine Meredith there. Thanks for a great season, and indeed, thank you, Catherine, for tuning on in. And we'd just like to say a little special mention to John Higgins Senior, who's been tuning in all season. And he has asked if he get a shout out to his mum, Val, who recently lost her brother Jimmy. And unfortunately, Val got rushed into hospital last night, but she has been released back home, thankfully. Val, if you're listening right now, we're very happy to have your son John tuning on in. And if you're tuning in, that makes it extra special, and we're glad to hear that you're on the mend by the sounds of things, and all the best to your health. And ladies and gentlemen, shout out once again to all of you for tuning in, because it wouldn't be the NXTCC if it weren't for the administrators, the drivers, but also you, the spectators. You all make it what it is. But of course, if you have been enjoying the show today, and perhaps with that, you'd like to know a little bit more about the NXTGEN racing community, perhaps you want to be on the grid for Season 6 or know a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes or everything between, we do recommend you check out our official website. Firstly, that's nextgenracing.co.uk, and that website will appear on screen very shortly. In fact, here it is. It's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and we've been hosting leagues for the best part of 17 years now, and as we continue to go from strength to strength, we'd love you to be part of the NXTGEN racing journey as we focus more and more of our time on the PC platforms, particularly on iRacing, but also a little bit of R Factor 2 coming up very shortly. More to talk about that very shortly. But if you don't want to necessarily go to our website, we can, of course, follow us on Facebook. And the number one place to go to on Facebook is our official group at facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing. We can find out not just about our series and our leagues, but also about what we do outside of the simulated circuit, with a good number of our admins and staff members being real-life track marshals, if not racing drivers. We'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors for this season, including PowerMax, Nexel Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases, Douglas Motorsport, Benji Sim Photos, and IMB Racewear. Thank you to all of them, and our title sponsor, IMB Racewear, gets a special mention, of course. And, what lies in wait next time is the big question. Well, next up, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the return of the NXTCC for its 6th season, and save the date. Season 6 will start on Tuesday, the 5th of March 2024. We'll get underway once again, and as Jamie does rejoin me now once again. Jamie, Season 6 is only a month and a half away, and what a calendar we have got for this season. But before we come onto the calendar, the fact we've got some changes in store for Season 6, including a new class on the grid, the AM class.
Yeah, so it's just had a bit of diversity. I think, we've done 2 classes all for the 5 seasons of the NXTCC, and they've worked well, but touring car racing's for everyone. So there's some people that don't have the consistency. They've got the pace. Everyone's got pace. It gives them something to fight for. So I always want to try and include everyone, and I think it's the time with the numbers and how it's looking to have that extra. I mean, I put the sign up form up 20 minutes ago, and we've got 15 signed up already. So I think, I think an AM class is going to be strong.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, other than that, not too many other major changes in store by the sounds of things. We've still got our 3 races around format and also our reverse grids from the Lottery Bowl draw. Anything else our viewers should know about?
Yeah, so we're taking away the the race 2 reverse grid. We're going to go back to the old way, which was P1 to 10 will have the success weight. However, they will be the heaviest cars towards the front of the grid, similar to the BTCC. So race 2 will no longer have the reverse. I think the biggest thing this season or coming season will be per category, so pro am, and am, from every position that is gained in class, you will get 1 extra bonus point. So that entices a bit more overtaking. However, if you're found at fault post race for a overtake that may not be to some standard, and you get a time penalty, you'll lose those points. So it should also encourage people to think about overtakes as well. So yeah, there's going to be a few more extra points, bonus points on offer for overtaking within their class. So more points, more prizes, more shenanigans. I'll let you guys decide.
Oh, without a doubt. And well, we originally did show the flyer for what was Season 5 to give our viewers an idea of where we were back at the start of Season 5. And now, of course, the flyer on screen for Season 6. And like you say, those key changes in store. It should only incentivise the racing ever more. And all for the reasonable price, of course, of £10 for a single driver, all the way up to £25 for a team of 3 drivers. I mean, you can't find racing at this level any cheaper when it comes to racing on iRacing.
No, that's exactly it. Like I said earlier, next gen, we're not here to make money. We're here to try and provide a league that, in my eyes, I would want to race. Yes, okay, we could up the price, but it deters the entry, the size of the grid, and I don't like prizes on offer for money prizes on offer because it becomes toxic. So it's one of them that, yeah, I think the prices are relevant for what we provide. I think it's a good value for money. You get 30 races for those prices. Obviously, the bigger your team, the more money you get off as well to engage team driving. Yeah, I think let's not change too much because it works really well. We're across multiple countries now with drivers and continental drivers joining, so let's keep this roll going while we've got the steam behind us, and let's improve it.
Oh, without a doubt. And speaking of what lies ahead in terms of Season 6, we've got the calendar up on screen now. I mean, we start off with the Silverstone National Circuit on the 5th of March, and we've got quite a few circuits returning from previous seasons, but we've also got some new circuits being featured. It'll be the first time our drivers take on Motorland Aragon, the touring car layout. Also, Mugello arrives. That'll be on the 23rd of April in round 7, and it all wraps up at the Daytona Road Course on the 14th of May. We've never raced Daytona. I mean, last time we raced Daytona in the Monday or Tuesday night series was back with the MX-5s when it was oval racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I try and do it. The people who are loyal to the next gen, I try and add 2 or 3 new tracks every season, so the cost isn't too much. I try and play with the layout a little bit. You doing this for 5 going on 6 seasons, you know what works with the touring cars. Just quickly, Silverstone, the national layout, always a phenomenal touring car track. I think with no weight in the opening round, it'd be great. Monza with the no first chicane, great spectacle going into Curva Grande, flat out, almost at the limiter on the cars, watching them dancing through there. Stand down, personally for me, was one of my highlights. Last season or season before, some of the racing there was the best. Motorland Aragon, that would be an interesting one. Touring car layout's got tyre bundles that do move on iRacing. I think it's the only tyre bundles that do move, so that'd be an interesting one if they get moved into the circuit. Long Beach, tight, twisty, phenomenal circuit. Will punish you for the midway point. Watkins Glen with the classic boot without the chicane, fast, slipstream, but also some overtaking around there. Mugello, great circuit, fast flowing, some lot of chicanes, should be good into turn one. Hockenheim GP, we've done the National B before, again with that hairpin, phenomenal slipstream overtake. Oran Park, I'm waiting to see. I mean, that's the only one I kind of and ah about, but again, a phenomenal circuit leading into Daytona Road. What way to end a season apart from with a team circuit in my eyes, slipstream, fast, with the fast bus stop in the middle. So yeah, something to look forward to, I think.
Oh, 100%. And it all gets underway on the 5th of March. And I mean, for those of viewers right now who might be sat there thinking, yeah, but I can't really wait until the 5th of March. I need my touring car fixed soon. We've also got the R Factor 2 BTCC Mini League coming up. And that begins as of next week.
Yeah, so I'm I like punishment, so to speak. So R Factor 2, I've recently got it up and running properly. We've got it to the point. We're doing a little 4-week mini league of Brands, Indy, Thruxton, Alton Park, and I'm missing one. Donington National. That's it. Thanks, Paul. R Factor in the touring cars, British touring cars, running the touring car liveries with the hybrid. It just works really well. Once it's set up, it's phenomenal. So, I mean, I know Mikey's going to be racing in it. I know Wojciech might be racing in it. We've already got 26 people signed up for that. So that's going to be interesting. It's not going to take away from the iRacing NXTCC, but let's try our hand at something else we might be able to grow to in the future. But let's see how that goes.
Oh, without a doubt, and all the racing action will be brought live from circuit side. I'll be back in the commentary booth for that in order to whet everyone's appetite in preparation for Season 6 of the NXTCC. But what a time it is to be alive at Next Gen Racing. And Jamie, I appreciate you joining me this evening as part of the post-show. I mean, you must be absolutely knackered, both racer and administrator. And, well, thank you to you for running what has been a phenomenal season. I'm sure everyone will give a round of applause to this man for the fact, if it weren't for Jamie, we wouldn't have the NXTCC, ladies and gentlemen, and will long may it continue, because you do an absolutely stellar job.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I mean, I'm only a small portion, but yeah, my keyboard's smoking at the moment, so it's one of those. Thanks.
Well, Jamie, you have a lovely evening, and we'll catch you again soon.
See you later, mate. Thank you.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from Jamie Dory, and like we say, we have got upcoming as of next week for 4 rounds of racing, 3 races in each round. The BTCC Mini League brought to you on R Factor 2 by Next Gen Racing. All the racing being brought live from circuit side, kicking off, of course, there with Brands Hatch Indy Circuit as of Tuesday, the 30th of January. So whether you're going to wait until Tuesday, the 5th of March, of the commencement of Season 6 of the NXTCC, or alternatively, you want to get your BTCC fix a little bit sooner, we've got you covered here at Next Gen. But that does mean, that, ladies and gentlemen, that with that, we bring the curtain down on the racing for Season 5 of the NXTCC. It has been our pleasure at Next Gen Racing to bring it to you from day one through to conclusion today. But until next time, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay well, stay safe, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.